Chapter 9:18. Chu Enlan's expression froze. She did not expect Luo Yunxing to be so impatient. Luo Yunxing frowned when he saw that Chu Enlan did not react. But in the next second, Chu Enlan reacted quickly. Uncle Luo, Yunxing will hold a scientific research exhibition in a few days. We will invite many people. Do you want to come and take a look? I'm not free. Luo Yunxing's rejection attracted the attention of the people around him. This made Chu Enlan almost unable to maintain the expression on her face. She forced a smile and said, but there should be many people coming to the exhibition. Seeing this scene, everyone else was terrified. Even Chu Enlan was frustrated, not to mention Bei Yunj. Enlan, didn't Chu Yeming tell you that I'm working on an important project recently? Luo Yunxing's tone was indifferent. Moreover, he and Chu Yeming were not close friends. They were just acquaintances. Chu Enlan's face turned pale. Luo Yunxing took a deep breath. Just as he was about to turn around and say something to Chu Enlan, his sharp eyes suddenly saw a flash of a figure. He froze. Who was the person who just walked out? Did he see wrongly? Why was she here? Where are you now? Luo Yunxing's sudden question stunned Chu Enlan. The first research institute of Yuncheng. I see. Luo Yunxing remembered that she was in Yuncheng. He could not help but ask, who are the participants? Chu Enlan saw that there was a turning point and immediately said, I'm not sure yet, but there will definitely be many important scholars participating. Luo Yunxing's heart was itching. He did not want to know who would be participating in the exhibition. He only wanted to know if she would be participating. About this, Luo Yunxing was wondering if he had seen wrongly. But in the next moment, he saw the person at the door holding the chocolate and wobbling in. He immediately changed his words. I still have time to go. When Chu Enlan heard this, she seemed to be struck by good luck and instantly became excited. Really? That's great. Chu Enlan was wild with joy. After hanging up the phone, Chu Enlan glanced at Bei Yunj and the corners of her lips curled up. She hadn't invited any scholars yet. It seemed like she really didn't have any connections. At this moment, the others couldn't help but sigh. Enlan, you even managed to invite Luo Yunxing. You're amazing. Chu Enlan smiled faintly. As you can see, Uncle Luo has a bad temper. I guess it's because of my dad that I was able to invite him this time. Hearing that, the others became even more envious. It was so good to have a father who was a researcher. If it was someone else, Luo Yunxing would have gone berserk. Ding Kuisheng watched the video and felt that Luo Yunxing's eyes weren't on Chu Enlan. The next day, Chu Enlan had already invited 4 scholars. She looked at the list and saw that everyone who could be invited had already been invited. She couldn't help but sneer. The rest were top researchers who didn't even have a complete set of contact information. Not to mention Bei Yunj, even her father, Chu Yeming, was rarely seen. She wanted to see how Bei Yunj was able to invite these immortals. Noon. The people in the corridor were laughing. Does she really think she's so great? It's been 2 days and she didn't even dare to make a phone call. Professor Ding actually thinks highly of such a person. End of chapter. Chapter 9:19. In the group of people, a man and a woman were chatting. The rest of the people were waiting to watch the show. Xiao Meng, she's here. The person next to them had sharp eyes. When he saw Bei Yunj from afar, he immediately reminded her. However, the woman did not seem to care. Instead, she crossed her arms and laughed proudly. So what if she's here? Do you think I'm afraid of her? When the man next to her saw this, he imitated the conversation between Ding Kuisheng and Bei Yunj even more exaggeratedly. When he saw that Bei Yunj was here, he became even more excited. Just when everyone wanted to laugh out loud, the next thing that happened caused the atmosphere to change abruptly. The man was suddenly hit in the face by a bottle of mineral water. Even his teeth were loosened from the impact. His whole body crashed into the water dispenser. His hand accidentally touched the pipe, and he instantly howled in pain. This scene stunned everyone present, and the atmosphere became stiff and cold. The woman who was originally proud and complacent suddenly felt a chill down her spine. She stared blankly at the person being discussed and walked slowly to them. Why? Do you have a problem with me? Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows. Her eyes were bright and unruly. Her aura was so strong that no one dared to say anything. The next moment, before anyone could react, Bei Yunj suddenly lifted the man by the collar and slammed him against the wall. The dull sound of bones cracking was not loud, but it was terrifying. The man howled in pain, but he did not dare to make too much noise. He could only look at the person in front of him in fear. Bei Yunj was laughing, but her eyes were cold. She patted the man's face as if she was joking. Do you know why I'm here? Huh. However, for a moment, the man felt as if an evil spirit had attached itself to his back. He trembled all over. This is the Research Institute. Bei Yunj, Professor Ding is in the office. If you dare. The man reacted and immediately wanted to threaten Bei Yunj. However, the next moment, a punch landed on his face. The man trembled in pain. He covered his face in disbelief. Then, he heard her ask playfully, if I dare to do what? Everyone else was shocked. When they came back to their senses, they were afraid that Bei Yunj would be the next one to make trouble for them. The girl standing next to him felt her legs go weak, and she took a step back in fear. Raise your head. Bei Yunj's tone was casual, but the boy who was leaning against the wall had no choice but to endure the pain. His entire body trembled as he slowly straightened his back. Classmate Pei. Classmate Pei, I was just joking. Really? I like jokes too. Bei Yunj curled her lips and suddenly kicked him in the stomach with her knee. This made the boy bend down subconsciously, and his face was almost distorted. Bei Yunj smiled and asked slowly, do you like this joke? When the surrounding people saw this scene, only one thought popped into their minds. Running away from this place, this person was too scary. They wanted to stay as far away from Bei Yunj as possible. They had never met anyone who dared to make a move in the Research Institute. Next. Bei Yunj let go of the boy's collar and glanced at everyone present. Is there anyone else who wants to make fun of me? The few people present shook their heads vigorously. Making fun of her was equivalent to risking one's life. Don't stand on ceremony. If you want to make fun of me, go ahead. Bei Yunj picked up a bottle of mineral water and glanced at them lazily. She smiled and said, if you want to be hospitalized, just keep talking. Everyone, end of chapter. Chapter 920. Then. Everyone watched as Bei Yunj threw the mineral water bottle into the rubbish bin and left. Only then did they heave a sigh of relief. It was too depressing just now. This is the first time I've encountered such a scene. Someone came back to his senses and felt as if his strength had been sucked out. He muttered weakly. The others did not say anything, but they thought so too. This Bei Yunj was really too scary. Why would such a person be a volunteer? It was ridiculous. In the next few days, even Ding Kuishing felt that the children in Yun University's laboratory were avoiding Bei Yunj like a snake or scorpion. During the meeting, whenever Bei Yunj spoke, no one dared to even raise their heads. However, in the past 2 days, the planning for the conference was nearing its end. Professor Ding, this is the list of people invited to the exhibition, Chu Anlin said with a smile. Ding Kuishing glanced at these names and asked in surprise, so many? Chu Anlin had already contacted 9 scholars, including a well-known researcher like Luo Yunsheng. Of course, I will do my best to complete the mission given by Professor Ding. Ding Kuishing nodded. Thank you for your hard work. As soon as he finished speaking, Chu Anlin's gaze landed on Bei Yunj again. I'll send you the list tomorrow. After Bei Yunj finished speaking, the others felt disdain in their hearts. They felt that Bei Yunj could not invite these researchers at all. However, because of what happened a few days ago, no one dared to mock Bei Yunj in front of her. Okay. Ding Kuishing looked quite happy. In fact, he did not have high hopes for Bai Yunj. After all, he had invited many famous researchers according to Bai Yunj's method. However, when Chu Anlin heard this, a trace of mockery flashed across her eyes. She had invited all the researchers on the list who could be invited. Who did Bai Yunj think she was that everyone had to give her face? After the meeting ended, Bai Yunj looked at the time of the exhibition and took a photo of the list. She opened the group chat, loving family, Rose. Picture, does anyone know them? Soon, someone replied in the group. Si Qingyan. Zhong Xinglin. Zhou Moping, there are 3 of them. Are they my students? Bai Yunj raised her eyebrows and continued to reply. There's an exhibition the day after tomorrow. We need to gather some people. Zhou Moping, that's easy. I'll ask my students to come with me. Zhong Xinglin, Si Qingyan, you go too. Si Qingyan. Yu Guang, exhibition. I'm free too. By Mingzhang, I'm going too. Until the next day. Bai Yunj walked up to Ding Kuisheng and thought for a moment. If I can't invite the people on the list, how about we change the group? This was not the initial list. After Ding Kuisheng sorted out the people who would never come, Bai Yunj did not recognize any of them. All right. You can swap out whoever you want. Ding Kuisheng was so busy that he did not care who Bai Yunj found. He only patted Bai Yunj's shoulder. Good luck. Bai Yunj, when the people around heard this, they were even more excited. If Bai Yunj could not find anyone to participate, she might as well say so. Otherwise, wouldn't it be embarrassing if she compared herself to the researchers invited by Chu Anlin? Chu Anlin could not hide the joy on her face. When she thought about how she could suppress Bai Yunj tomorrow, the corners of her lips could not help but curl up. At the exhibition. End of this chapter. Chapter 921. Bai Yunj looked at the invitation and realized that the address of the exhibition was Delaney's Multipurpose Exhibition Hall. At the venue, Bai Yunj stood at the door and waited. Delaney's Multipurpose Exhibition Hall required swiping a card to enter. However, seeing that there was no one around, Bai Yunj took out the card that the higher-ups of Delaney had given her last time and tried the card machine. Unsurprisingly, the door of the exhibition hall opened. Bai Yunj put the card back into her pocket and walked in. But half an hour later, after Bai Yunj finished shopping, she bumped into Ding Kuisheng, who was rushing over. Ding Kuisheng's eyelids twitched. How did you get in? He had been squatting at the door for more than 20 minutes, but the security guard refused to let him in. He was only allowed to pass after verifying it. Bai Yunj said. The machine seems to be broken. Which one? Bai Yunj turned around and did not even bother to brush him off. I forgot. The corner of Ding Kuisheng's mouth twitched. Okay, I'll check the temporary record card. Don't forget to get the card later. Without a temporary record card, you can't enter and leave the exhibition here at will. As it was a high-end exhibition hall, the temporary record card here was authenticated with real names, so it was convenient to participate in the auction of exhibition projects. There was still half an hour before the exhibition started, but many people had already arrived. Chu Anlin glanced at Bai Yunj, who brushed past her and sneered. She quickly went up to receive Luo Yunsheng. She smiled and greeted him. Uncle Luo, it's been a long time. There was a familiar face beside Luo Yunsheng, which made Chu Anlin unable to suppress her excitement. Is that Mr. Marcus? Marcus glanced at Chu Anlin with his blue eyes. Seeing that there was no one around, he quickly left after saying a few words. Luo Yunsheng, I'll go out and take a look first. Luo Yunsheng nodded respectfully. Okay, Director. Chu Anlin could not help but be disappointed. Is Mr. Marcus leaving? No, I'm meeting a friend. Luo Yunsheng's tone was cold. But Chu Anlin didn't care at all. She followed Luo Yunsheng as if she was very familiar with him. She smiled. Is Mr. Marcus also interested in this exhibition? It's all right. Luo Yunqing's tone was perfunctory as he scanned the surroundings, as if he was looking for someone. Chu Enlan continued to ask, Uncle Luo, if you don't have anything else to do, why don't you show the others around? Luo Yunqing was indeed a little impatient. He suppressed his temper and discussed with Chu Enlan. After that, Luo Yunqing left without looking back. However, Chu Enlan stood there with a stiff face. She only came back to her senses when she heard her companion calling her. Enlan, was that Luo Yunqing? Oh my God, Enlan, you're too lucky to be acquainted with such a big shot. After the girl calmed down, she thought of the atmosphere between Chu Enlan and Su Li just now. Did you guys quarrel? Chu Enlan immediately put on a smile and said calmly, No, Uncle Luo doesn't like crowds. Maybe it's too noisy. So that's the case, the girl nodded and smiled gloatingly. Enlan, let me tell you. Bei Yunj doesn't seem to have invited anyone on the list. She's secretly sitting in the corridor. Chu Enlan felt a little better. Is that so? She smiled. After all, she's not from this circle. It's indeed difficult for her to blend in. P.S. We'll continue tomorrow morning. Be good and remember the monthly votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 922. On the other side. Bei Yunj was indeed playing with her phone in the corridor. The few people she had invited had not arrived after a long time. Soon. Anlan, what did you say? Marcus is here too. Luo Yunqing raised his voice in disbelief. On the other hand, Bei Yunj, who was playing with her phone, paused and looked up instinctively. Chu Anlan smiled and said, Uncle Luo is from our nation's computing institute after all. I didn't expect them to give him so much face. These words were indirectly saying that Luo Yunqing and Marcus were here because of her. Ding Kueisheng did not think too much about it and only sighed. Student Chu is really amazing. I don't think even I have such connections. Professor Ding, you're joking. After Chu Anlan finished laughing, she seemed to have just seen Bei Yunj. Student Pei? Don't you need to pick up the guests you invited? They haven't arrived. Bei Yunj glanced at them and said concisely without any intention of saying anything else. However, Chu Anlan persisted and asked, They haven't arrived? Is Student Pei sure that they will come? With that said, even Ding Kueisheng frowned and tried to smooth things over with a smile. Yunj, Professor C will be here later. Remember to go and receive him. Bei Yunj looked at him. Me? Ding Kueisheng was speechless. It was his first time seeing a student act so disdainful of Si Qingyan. After all, he was the youngest professor in Yin University and had even been trending because of his looks. Just as Ding Kueisheng took a deep breath, Chu Anlan suddenly smiled. Professor Ding, there's no need for Student Pei to receive Professor C. Chu Anlan looked at the few people not far away and pretended to be very familiar with Luo Yunqing and the rest. She turned around and smiled politely. Professor C is chatting with Uncle Luo and the rest. Uncle Luo doesn't like to be disturbed by strangers. I'll go and ask if they need anything. Ding Kueisheng hesitated for a moment. Okay. After all, he was indeed not familiar with the scholars in our nation's academic circle. At this moment, Chu Anlan glanced at Bei Yunj and the corners of her lips curled up in satisfaction. In this round, it was obvious that Bei Yunj was the one who was crushed. Thinking of this, Chu Enlan walked over briskly. Uncle Luo, Professor C. Chu Enlan's voice was soft. Mr. Marcus, do you need any help? Luo Yunqing was interrupted and frowned subconsciously. He did not expect Chu Anlan to come again. No need. Luo Yunqing's tone was cold. This made Chu Enlan's joy seem to have been extinguished by a basin of cold water. Coincidentally, Si Qingyan had just sent a message to Bei Yunj. Seeing the awkward situation, he smiled and said, We're waiting for someone. We really don't need your help. Thank you. Chu Enlan also blushed slightly because of Si Qingyan's gentlemanly demeanor and nodded. But in the next moment, Before Chu Enlan left, she saw Bei Yunj walking towards her. Chu Enlan saw this and immediately said, "Student Pei, didn't I tell you that Uncle Luo and Professor C don't like to be disturbed?" You. Before he could finish his sentence, the person who had been silent all this while spoke up excitedly, "Gu, you're really here?" Instantly. This caused the people who were secretly observing Marcus to lose their ability to speak. The atmosphere was extremely cold. In Country A, Marcus only had a good relationship with Zhong Xinglin and a few others. But what was going on now? Chu Enlan's entire body froze. She looked at this unbelievable scene with an ugly expression. End of this chapter. Chapter 923. Bei Yunj put her phone back into her pocket and brushed past Chu Anlan. Chu Anlan froze on the spot and heard Bei Yunj greet Marcus familiarly. "It's been a long time." Marcus complained unhappily, "You're still talking about it. The last time you went to Nili, Zhong Xinglin didn't even want to tell me. If I want to see you, I have to come to Yuncheng." At this moment. Not to mention the students of Yun University's experimental class who had never seen such a scene before, even Ding Kuisheng felt like he was dreaming. This volunteer's connections were truly terrifying. How did she even know Marcus? Besides, this was not just a simple acquaintance. She could actually make the big boss come to Yuncheng to look for her. What a godly treatment. But speaking of which, why are you here? Marcus was curious. Bei Yunj was speechless. Beside him, Si Qingyan was trying his best to suppress his laughter. "Marcus, let's ask about this later." After Si Qingyan reminded him kindly, Marcus did not ask further. At this moment, the students in Yun University's laboratory felt like they were in a dream. The person who was talking to Bei Yunj just now was Marcus. Some people still could not believe it. How did Bei Yunj know such a top researcher? Marcus and Chu Anlan's father, Chu Yeming, were not on the same level. No matter which country they were in, who didn't know Marcus from our nation who studied computing? But at this moment, Marcus and Bei Yunj looked very familiar. And this familiarity was something that Marcus took the initiative to do. As a result, Luo Yunsheng and Si Qingyan, who were beside him, felt like they couldn't interrupt even if they wanted to. "If there's nothing else, you guys can shop by yourselves first. I'm going to pick someone up." Bei Yunj saw that someone had sent her a message and said to Marcus and the rest. This made Ding Kuisheng's eyelid twitch. He wondered if Bei Yunj was stupid. The top researcher was standing in front of her. She was still planning to leave the big boss alone and go outside to pick up someone. Ding Kuisheng immediately went forward. "Yunj, where is the person you want to fetch now?" "I'll go and fetch him." Now, Ding Kuisheng was afraid that Marcus would be provoked by Bei Yunj and leave in anger. Bei Yunj hesitated for a moment and looked at Ding Kuisheng. She nodded. "They're outside. There should be 8 or 9 of them." "All right, I'll go pick it up now." After Ding Kuisheng finished speaking, he immediately left in a relaxed and unguarded manner. However, he never imagined what kind of hell he would be facing next, at this very moment. Chu Enlan felt cold all over. Looking at Bei Yunj, Marcus, and the others walking together, her complexion turned extremely ugly. Why didn't Bei Yunj say earlier that she knew Marcus? She wanted to see her embarrass herself on purpose. Chu Enlan gritted her teeth. She was not willing to lose just like that. "Enlan, are you all right?" The girl next to her saw that Chu Enlan was not in a good state and asked carefully. Marcus and the Delaney group have always been working together. After all, the Delaney group is sponsoring this exhibition. Although Chu Enlan said this, the students present were very silent. A big boss like Marcus did not lack any bosses. Until the next moment. There was a commotion in the crowd. Everyone looked up and saw a few familiar faces. "Elder Zhong, look. It's really Elder Zhong. Is that Mr. Bai Mingzhang beside him?" End of chapter. Chapter 924. Translator, Henyu Translations Editor, Henyu Translations. The scene continued. Master Pei's family and friends other than Zhong Xinglin, there was also the former principal of Yun University, Bai Mingzhang, the director of the Academy of Engineering, Zhou Moping, the former director of the First Research Institute of the Ministry of National Defense, Yu Guang, and the others. Everyone's hearts almost stopped beating when they saw the gathering of the big shots of scientific research that hadn't been seen in years. What kind of auspicious day was it today that all the big shots were out shopping? They were all immortals in the scientific research world. Chu Anlin felt a chill run down her spine when she saw this scene. She had a bad feeling. Ding, where's my gu? Bai Mingzhang asked kindly. Zhong Xinglin was especially disdainful. Don't try to claim connections. Lan Jun hasn't even acknowledged you, and you're already treating yourself as Gu's biological grandfather? The volume of his voice was neither too loud nor too soft, just enough for some of the people present to hear him clearly. Mr. Bai Mingzhang wanted to be Bai Yunji's grandfather? The students of Yun University's laboratory were naturally the most familiar with Bai Mingzhang. He was the former principal of Yun University. In fact, Bai Mingzhang was their principal when they were still undergraduates, at this moment. Ding Kuixing was under the most pressure. He had a stiff smile on his face, and his legs were weak. From the start, he had never thought that Pei Yunj would know anyone at her age. Therefore, he never expected that when he walked to the door, he would see Zhong Xinglin and a few other scientific researchers waiting for him at the door. This ancestor had invited Zhong Xinglin and the others over without saying a word. What was the meaning of this? Do you all want some tea? Ding Kuixing was very regretful. If he had known that Zhong Xinglin and Bai Mingzhang would be coming, he would have prepared the best Longjing tea this time. No need. Bai Mingzhang smiled and refused. When he saw Bai Yunj not far away, his eyes lit up. Bai Yunj looked up and saw Ding Kuixing coming back with the others. I told you that I would pick you up, but you refused. Don't tell me that you rode a bike here on such a cold day. Bai Yunj walked over and spoke in a cold tone. Only the corners of her eyes seemed to be curved, making her look unbelievably beautiful. The function hall was located in a remote area. If they had waited for the bus, Zhong Xinglin and the others would not have arrived so quickly. The surrounding people felt their scalps go numb. This was the first time they saw someone daring to lecture Zhong Xinglin and the others like this. After all, they were the earliest batch of veterans who had contributed most of their energy to the country. You'll feel warm after some exercise, Zhong Xinglin said immediately and even rubbed his hands together symbolically. Bai Mingzhang nodded. That's right, that's right. The older generation was not only used to living frugally, but they also remembered the hardships of the war. This included Lin Lanjun. She had received tens of millions of dollars in prize money, but she had donated all of it to Project Hope to find lost children. Bai Yunj glanced at them, nodded, and chuckled. That's good. You can ride a bike happily now, and you can stay in the hospital neatly in the future. Zhong Xinglin, Bai Mingzhang, Yu Guang and Zhou Moping, old Zhong was right. His daughter was indeed very fierce. Zhong Xinglin knew that he was in the wrong. He could only turn to look at Marcus and question fiercely, Marcus, who allowed you to wander around our Yuncheng for no reason? Marcus, not long after. After Zhong Xinglin and the others went to their seats, Ding Kuixing pulled Bai Yunj back. You told me to change a batch of people. Did you mean this batch? Ding Kuixing took a deep breath and asked with a fake smile. End of chapter. Chapter 925. Bai Yunj looked at him, not understanding what he meant. Ding Kuixing was speechless. It seemed like this person really pulled Zhong Xinglin and the rest to make up the numbers. I don't know anyone else either. You can't be picky, Bai Yunj said slowly. Ding Kuixing was speechless. Hearing this person speak, he really felt like breaking down. Fortunately, the exhibition was about to start. Ding Kuixing stood on the stage as if he had just woken up from a dream. However, when he saw the people in the first row, his legs still turned weak. What kind of monster was Bai Yunj? She pulled a row of top researchers to support her. On the stage, Ding Kuixing introduced with a stiff expression. The others were not any better. They had heard that she would be participating in the exhibition. Although they knew that the possibility was very small, they still wanted to try their luck. However, they did not expect to meet people like Zhong Xinglin and Bai Mingzhang. Those in the industry who did not attend today were probably regretting it. At the same time, Chu Anlan's expression was extremely ugly. She could not figure out who Bai Yunj was. Anlan, let's look at the exhibition first. The female classmate beside her paused and added, I saw the unit on her application board just now. It's the first research institute of the Ministry of National Defense. Chu Anlan's face paled. What did you say? In Country A, the first research institute of the Ministry of National Defense was even more difficult to enter than the Academy of Science. The female classmate fell silent. Chu Anlan clenched her fists and stared at Bai Yunj gloomily. Soon. She laughed coldly. Song Yao has really improved. It seems like she's going against me to the end. Anlan, who doesn't know that Elder Zhong and the rest don't vote for projects easily? No matter how many Bai Yunj brings, they are all fake. After the female classmate comforted her, Chu Anlan's expression improved. She was right. Even if Elder Zhong and the rest came, Bai Yunj still did not have much practical help to this exhibition. Chu Anlan watched as the S-grade projects were introduced one by one. There was indeed no movement in the first row. Only a few of the people she invited voted for 2 or 3 projects. As for the incomplete projects, students, and prepared projects, these big shots were even less likely to take a fancy to them. Thinking of this, Chu Anlan pursed her lips and her eyes were cold. But then, a boy with a clean temperament suddenly appeared on the stage. He clenched his fists nervously and walked onto the stage with his introduction book. In fact, almost no one cared about the later projects, and no one would follow and choose. However, the male student continued his speech seriously. The topic of the speech was a hearing aid. It could help people with hearing loss integrate into society more easily. For example, they could take up jobs like driving. After all, according to the relevant regulations, many cities had banned honking. After the project was pushed forward, they could sign a contract with some taxi companies to provide work opportunities for deaf drivers. After the introduction of the project, everyone present knew that it was very difficult to put such a project into practice. There were not many people who could afford to lead this project. Ladies and gentlemen who are interested in this project, please vote. After the host finished speaking, a brief introduction of the project appeared on the screen. Below was a blank list of candidates. Everyone lost interest and waited for the introduction to be over to see if they had a chance to sit in the first row. But the next moment, the mechanical voice sounded as the image on the big screen changed. Thank you to the first candidate for this project. End of this chapter. Chapter 926. A clear line of words appeared on the screen. Project candidate, candidate 1YG. Everyone held their breaths. Why what? YG. YG is really coming to the exhibition. Chapter 926. Afraid of YG's revenge. The mysterious person appears. Please wait a moment. After the content is updated, please refresh the page to get the latest update. Chapter 927. The mysterious man said, I just want a way to get close to her. You know, Country A is very protective of her. Then I'll tell you officially. She's my disciple. No one can have any ideas about her. Nancy said lightly, but there was a cold warning in his eyes. The mysterious man was stunned. He knew how strict Nancy's standards were. If he liked her, then it seemed that she was not a genius packaged by Country A as they thought. Teacher, I want to invite her to Continent K for the assessment. As soon as the mysterious man finished speaking, Nancy refused. Impossible. The mysterious man pursed his lips. Teacher, if she comes, I'll make sure she's safe. Do you think I'll still believe you? Nancy sneered. As soon as he finished speaking, the mysterious man was silent for a long time and said, Teacher, you know in your heart how different the scientific research level here is from that of Continent K. You've also worked your way up in Continent K, so you know how hard it is to achieve success. Nancy was unmoved. He just drank some coffee. At this moment, the mysterious man moved his lips. Okay. Then, he sent a document to Nancy. What are you doing? Nancy frowned. Let her have a try for this test. Very few people can get 60 points. The mysterious man said lightly. Are you trying to trick me? Nancy narrowed his eyes. The mysterious man couldn't help but laugh. The passing score in Continent K is different from the passing score here. Teacher, don't you know best? Teacher, Country A protects her very well, but if she has the support of the 191st Laboratory, then no one can touch her. Nancy was silent for a long time before he passed the document to Bei Yunj. 2 hours later. The mysterious man asked, have you finished filling it out? Nancy hesitated. She doesn't seem to have woken up yet. The mysterious man said. Did she do her research too late yesterday? Nancy said, she hasn't done any research during this period. She was volunteering. The mysterious man was speechless. He suddenly felt that this genius was not so reliable. Could she really be a packaging genius from Country A? Just as the mysterious man was thinking, Nancy suddenly said, she accepted the document. The mysterious man nodded. About 20 minutes later, Nancy saw that Bei Yunj had finished filling out the form and sent him a copy. He hesitated for a moment. Now, 191 was so easy. While thinking, Nancy sent the question to the mysterious man. The mysterious man was stunned. She's done. It had only been 20 minutes. I think so. Nancy asked, is your mission very simple this time? The mysterious man's eyelids twitched. In order to test his level, he took a test that was more difficult. No one had ever scored more than 70 points on this test. Thinking of this, the mysterious man didn't believe it and started to check. But the more he answered the question, the more he doubted his life. Did he really spend 20 minutes on this? Last time, the students who passed the assessment took 2 hours. After checking, the mysterious man's body stiffened. Nancy asked subconsciously, how is it? You passed? The mysterious man's expression cracked in an instant. He turned around with a stiff and expressionless face. Full marks, this time, he had really dug out an incredible character for him. This was the first time he had met someone who scored full marks on a test. He had probably never met someone who scored full marks since the establishment of the laboratory. Chapter 928. Is Lab 191 standard so bad? Nancy blurted out subconsciously. But not long after, Nancy realized what kind of monster her goo was. It was not surprising that she got full marks. The mysterious man was speechless. For the first time, someone questioned the standard of Lab 191. But he could not refute the test paper with full marks in hand. The mysterious man took a deep breath. Teacher, are you sure she hasn't done this question? What do you mean? Nancy was unhappy. She suspected that he cheated? Teacher, you know I didn't mean that. The mysterious man smiled bitterly. Nancy was indignant, but he still asked Bei Yunj if she had done this kind of question. Not long after, Bei Yunj replied with a voice message. After Nancy clicked on it, Bei Yunj's soft laughter sounded first, then her lazy voice entered their ears. Teacher, your way of humiliating people now is quite special. Nancy was speechless. The mysterious man was speechless. Listening to the voice, he could feel the master's unruliness. It was also the first time the mysterious man knew that someone would think that doing the test paper of Lab 191 was a kind of humiliation. Well, my disciple doesn't mean any harm. Nancy coughed. She hasn't done a simple question for a long time. The mysterious man was speechless. This pair of teacher and disciple did it on purpose, right? He took a deep breath and said, Teacher, you know that with her talent, Continent K can give her more. Please consider it. The mysterious man paused. Although what happened to your wife was an accident, we're all very sorry. You don't want your wife to Don't mention my lover again. Nancy's attitude suddenly became cold. My lover can't afford to be sheltered by Lab 191, and neither can my disciple. After that, Nancy suddenly got up and left. The mysterious man also knew that today's negotiation had failed. He pursed his lips, thought for a long time, and logged on to CI7's network again. Bai Yunj had just come out of the shower and was sitting lazily on the sofa when she saw a message pop up on her cell phone. It was a list sent to her by Xian Yuan. What the buyer wanted was all the information of the Computing Institute's members. Bai Yunj raised her eyebrows and sent Xian Yuan a question mark. Xian Yuan, difficult? Max. Don't answer it. After sending it out, Bai Yunj sat in front of the computer and sorted out all the information she had. Xian Yuan thought that Bai Yunj wouldn't be able to find out, so he threw this tricky task to a few senior members. But he didn't expect that. He was just looking for information on a scientific researcher, but all of them accepted the order and then refunded it. This was the first time that the senior members of CI7 had collectively backed out. Continent K, are you sure it's full marks? The middle-aged man suddenly stood up, agitated. The mysterious man who had been talking to Nancy a few days ago was now standing in front of the middle-aged man. Yes. I knew it. Why would Nancy stay at the Computing Institute? The middle-aged man said. No, we must find her. The mysterious man paused. I don't know if it's because the security measures in Country A are too strict, but I can't find any information. It was as if it had been purposely erased. It was so blank that it could not be any more blank. Really? I've already contacted CI7, but there's still no clue at all. As soon as the mysterious man finished speaking, the middle-aged man sucked in a breath of cold air. Then this is difficult. If CI7 couldn't find anything, then there was nothing he could do. It seemed that he could only make a breakthrough on Nancy. P.S. Good night. Thank you for your efforts this month. Master Pei is number 1 on the monthly votes list. This month, Master Pei still needs monthly votes. Are there any children who want to vote for him? End of chapter. Chapter 929. Go and book me a ticket to Yuncheng. The middle-aged man looked at the scene at the door and narrowed his eyes. The mysterious man was stunned. Teacher, you, a few seconds later. He replied, got it. Over the past few days, Bai Yunj had been promoting the hearing aid project. She left early and returned late. She would only speak to Washidu at the dining table. At the Computing Institute. Bai Yunj looked at Du Zhao's persistent call and finally picked it up. What's wrong? Bai Yunj took off her goggles. Her bright eyes were cold, but not long after, she returned to her casual appearance. It's about the governor questioning your results. Du Zhao said. Bai Yunj raised her eyebrows. I don't have time to go to Neely. Du Zhao had always hoped that she would go to Neely to attend the International Musicians Association's banquet and slap the faces of those who said that she cheated. No, it's someone from the International Music Alliance. Du Zhao immediately explained, the people from the International Music Alliance have interfered in this matter. He has already gone to Yuncheng. Do you want to find time to meet him? Du Zhao had no choice in this matter. The International Musicians Association and the International Music Alliance had always suppressed each other. Moreover, the International Music Alliance had become famous in Continent K in recent years. The person who had been sent to Yuncheng was also someone whom the International Music Alliance valued greatly. Bai Yunj glanced at the research work at hand and thought for a while. Sure. Du Zhao heaved a sigh of relief and gave her a contact number. After Bai Yunj finished the task at hand, she slowly prepared to go to the airport to look for him. What was even more unexpected was that this search would lead to something completely unexpected, at the airport in the afternoon. The security guards had no choice but to come out to control the situation. However, they couldn't get the person sitting in the waiting area to leave. The assistant was so anxious that she was sweating. She looked at the young man in sunglasses. Brother Su, does the other party know that you're Song Su? Anyone who knew Song Su's name should have come to pick him up 10 minutes in advance. Song Su paused and smiled. You know, don't you? Seeing that Song Su didn't care, the assistant became even more anxious. This person won't be late, right? There are only 3 minutes left until the appointed time. Hearing this, Song Su quickly picked up his hat and looked at the people around him carefully. Finally, his gaze fixed on a girl who was frowning. She was so beautiful that no one had ever seen such stunning looks in the entertainment industry. His heart skipped a beat, and he called the other party according to the contact information given by Du Xiao. As expected, a girl outside the crowd picked it up and said in a clear voice, Song Su, right? Where are you? Bei Yunj glanced around and didn't see any men in their 20s. Song Su curled his lips in amusement. He didn't expect that Bei Yunj really didn't know him. Can you turn around and take a look? After saying this, Bei Yunj turned around and saw a young and handsome man walking out of the crowd. Hello, I'm Song Su. Song Su walked over to Bei Yunj's side. She frowned and was about to say something. Suddenly, Song Su grabbed Bei Yunj's wrist and ran out. When the female fans behind saw this scene, they couldn't stop screaming. There were also people who ran after them. But at this time, even Song Su's assistant didn't have time to react. A few minutes later, he realized that he had also been dumped by Song Su. But the reporters who had been following them had already captured the scene of Song Su and the unfamiliar young girl. Very soon. Hashtag Song Su returns hashtag Song Su's girlfriend at the airport hashtag. These words had already hit the headlines. On the bridge across the river, Song Su leaned against the railing and looked at the girl beside him who didn't say a word to him. His eyes were full of interest. Bei Yunj? Just now at the airport, he had only grabbed Bei Yunj's wrist in a moment of desperation. But the next moment, he had been dumped by this girl. This was also the first time Song Su was so disliked by the girls. Bei Yunj looked up. How do you want to test my skills? Song Su smiled. His eyebrows were gentle and good-looking, but his eyes were very dark. He lazily propped up his cheek. It's the first time we meet. Shouldn't we have a good chat? Coincidentally, I'm hungry too. Hearing this, Bei Yunj finally looked at him properly. After a while, she laughed softly. She asked slowly, why? Do you think I'm here to pick you up for dinner? In the afternoon. At the Hua Corporation. In the spacious office, a reminder bell rang. After reading the document in his hand, Washida glanced at the note before picking up his phone. What's wrong? Qin Yu heaved a sigh of relief when Washida finally picked up the call. However, in the next moment, he pursed his lips. Master Du, tell me the truth. Is Gu in a relationship? The pen in the man's hand stopped and the ink stained a spot. In a relationship? Hoshido asked carelessly, his cold fingers caressing the pen in his hand. She and Song Su are trending. Qin Yu took a deep breath and chuckled. I've never received such treatment even when Gu picked Song Su up at the airport. Hoshido asked, Song Su? Qin Yu was speechless. There was actually someone who didn't know Song Su these days. It's that Song Su who entered the Music Alliance and founded the largest entertainment company in our nation. After Qin Yu finished speaking, he was still frustrated. He could not help but be angry. I really don't understand. Why would Gu like that kind of person? Other than looking alright and having some ability, how is Song Su worthy of Gu? With that said, the man's pale-colored eyes darkened. Qin Yu continued to ask, Master Du, what should I do? I don't want Gu to fall in love so soon. Within moments, the man said slowly, Qin Yu, you're Yunyan's biological brother. These words made Qin Yu perk up instantly. Hoshido said slowly, you have to remind her appropriately to prevent her from being deceived. Qin Yu agreed very much. Master Du, you also think that Song Su is not a good person, right? At the same time, Huashidu clicked on the recent headlines. It was not difficult to find Song Su's entry. Then he saw a video. From a further angle, he saw Song Su on the phone with someone and then the two of them met. Although the pixels were a little blurry, Huashidu recognized that the person Song Su was holding and taking away was Bei Yunj. The emotions in the man's eyes were unclear. However, when he glanced at Bei Yunj's wrist, his eyes had already turned dark. His tone was light, but it was also slightly cold. He doesn't seem like a good person. At night, when Bei Yunj returned home, she saw the man sitting on the sofa. He seemed to be the same as usual, but Bei Yunj had a subtle premonition. "Brother." Bei Yunj called out naturally and was about to go upstairs. Suddenly, she was stopped by the man. "Yun." Bei Yunj turned around and sized up Huashidu's expression carefully. "What's wrong?" End of chapter. Chapter 930. Have you been busy recently? The man asked casually. Bei Yunj thought for a moment and nodded. A little. This made the emotions in the man's eyes unreadable. He recalled that the young lady had been leaving early and returning late recently. After a while, just as Bei Yunj was wondering if Huashidu was in a bad mood, he turned around and slowly extinguished his cigarette. Rest for a while before going downstairs to eat. Although the man said that, Bei Yunj still looked at him again. She felt that something was wrong. However, Bei Yunj could not figure out what was going on. There was a moment of silence. Huashidu heard the young lady suddenly say, "Brother, I don't know how to solve a math problem." This made Huashidu smile unconsciously. His light-colored eyes stared straight at Bei Yunj, who immediately went upstairs to look for her exercise book. After a while, the man chuckled softly in the living room. It was deep and hoarse, tickling one's ears. The next day, big things happened in Yunqing one after another. At the Computing Institute, Bei Yunj had just taken off her rubber gloves when she saw Qin Luyan's assistant calling her. It seemed that he was very anxious about something, so he called again after hanging up. Soon, Bei Yunj picked up. "What's wrong?" Bei Yunj was still tidying the table slowly, thinking that the assistant was rushing her back to the old residence. However, unexpectedly, she heard the assistant say anxiously, "Eldest miss, when can you come to the corporation?" Something happened to the corporation. Something happened? Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows. The assistant said, "Someone in the corporation has betrayed us and moved away our most important project fee. Currently, the higher-ups are forcing Boss Qin to hand over his shares." Bei Yunj stopped. "Can't we just make up for the fees?" The assistant was used to Bei Yunj not calling Qin Luyan brother. He only said, "Logically speaking, Boss Qin has the ability to make up for the whole. But Boss Qin really doesn't have any money." This was unbelievable. The CEO of a corporation did not have much money on him. The assistant could not help but blame himself. "When something happened to second young master last night, I should have known that everything was premeditated." Something happened to him too. Bei Yunj's eyes darkened. She knew that this matter was not simple. If one of the Qin family members got into trouble, it might be an accident. However, the two of them had met with mishaps one after another. This proved that someone wanted to get rid of the Qin family. Yes, second young master's MV has been exposed for infringement and theft. Now, many people are defaming second young master. The assistant wanted to say something else, but Bei Yunj interrupted her. "Got it. I'll hang up first." The assistant was stunned by Bei Yunj's cold attitude. Then, her eyes filled with anger. Second young master and Chairman Qin were so nice to Mississippi. Why didn't Miss care about them at all? Wasn't he her biological brother? The assistant's heart was stifled, but when he turned around, he saw Qin Luyan standing behind him. He didn't know when it had appeared. "Why did you tell her?" Qin Luyan's tone was indifferent, but it was not difficult to hear the coldness in it. The assistant didn't dare to look at Qin Luyan. He gritted his teeth. "Miss doesn't intend to care about you at all." Chairman Qin, Miss has never treated you as her biological brothers. You. As the assistant spoke, he looked up and met the man's cold gaze. Not long after. Qin Luyan only loosely tugged at his tie. His cold voice was magnetic and indifferent, with an imperceptible self-deprecation. Isn't that good? In this life, no matter what, he could not let Gu be implicated. End of chapter. Chapter 931. If she knows how to protect herself, she won't suffer too much in the future. Qin Luyan seemed to be muttering to himself. Then, just as the assistant was about to speak, he was suddenly interrupted by Qin Luyan. Prepare the materials. There's a meeting later. The assistant refused to give up. President Qin, are you really not going to let Miss Qin Yojiao come back? Before he could finish asking, the assistant was shocked by Qin Luyan's fierce gaze. At this moment, Bei Yunj found Qin Luyan's savings in his private account. For the CEO of a listed company with a market value of hundreds of millions, it was indeed strange that his account did not even have 100 million yuan. Then, just as Bei Yunj was checking Qin Luyan's transfer records, she found a bank card number that Qin Luyan had transferred a large amount of money to. Bei Yunj could tell at a glance that the owner of this bank card was actually her. Bei Yunj frowned instinctively. Because there were too many people who transferred money overseas, Bei Yunj did not care how much assets she had under her name. Therefore, she did not expect Qin Luyan to have so much money in this card. Suddenly, Zhong Xinglin knocked on the door of the research room. Gu, do you have anything else? I want to talk to you about the project. Hearing this, Bei Yunj looked away and said calmly, it's fine. Let's continue. At the Qin Corporation. Almost everyone was in a panic. In the VIP room on the third floor sat a beautiful foreign woman. She was wearing a purple satin dress, looking elegant and charming. Is he still unwilling to see me? Elena's red lips curled up as she took a sip of the teacup with her black lace-gloved hand and asked with a smile. This time, it was obvious that Elena had come prepared. Qin Luyan, who was on the 16th floor, also knew that this matter must have something to do with this woman. Miss Elena, I'm afraid President Qin is still unwilling to give in. The higher-ups of the Qin family smiled obsequiously. It was obvious that they had already started to take sides. Elena was the heir of the Angel family. This was not something a small Qin family could compare to. I thought he would learn to be obedient after so long. Elena's tone was natural as she glanced at Qin Luyan's assistant beside her. Go and tell Qin Luyan that I don't have that much time to wait any longer. She smiled charmingly. I like him so much, so of course I don't want to hurt him. As long as he comes to me, I will definitely help him get through this difficult time. After that, Elena kissed the black rose she brought and placed it on the table. There was also a hotel room card. When the surrounding people saw the black rose, they instantly knew who had been sending black roses to President Qin, who would have thought that it would be Elena Angel. However, they also knew how much Qin Luyan hated the roses that were sent every day. Similarly, Elena's butler was also confused as to why Elena was so obsessed with Qin Luyan. Inside the car, Elena saw the butler's hesitant expression and smiled. You still don't understand why I like Qin Luyan? Miss, your excellence can be matched with an even better man. Elena smiled and closed her eyes. Butler, you're wrong. If not for my background, I wouldn't have been able to threaten him at all. A man like Qin Luyan will surpass me one day with his own abilities. Therefore, before that happens, I will do whatever it takes to get him. Elena opened her eyes slightly, full of mockery. At the same time, I'll help Yojiao get rid of someone who should be eliminated. P.S. Continue reading. Sleep early and watch it tomorrow. Chapter 932. The butler did not speak, but he had a feeling that something would happen this time and could not feel at ease. At the same time, the internet was also filled with news about Qin Yu's MV. Someone posted a black thread online to prove that the roses in Qin Yu's MV were Juliet roses. In Neely, it was obvious that only the Backton Manor could take out dozens of Juliet roses. However, even the locals were not qualified to enter the Backton Manor, let alone know who the owner was. They reasonably suspected that the roses used in Qin Yu's MV had been stolen. This incident caught Qin Yu's fans off guard. How much was it worth to pay to subconsciously defame him? However, they later found out that according to our nation's currency, Juliet roses were worth 3 to 5 million yuan each. Although Qin Yu burned money filming MVs, he had never burned money like this. According to their country's currency, these were worth about 1 to 2 billion yuan. So, Qin Yu's family's anti-defamation efforts were getting weaker and weaker. In addition, with the Qin Corporation's incident, everyone seized this opportunity to add insult to injury. They accused Qin Luyan of using the people's money for the project, but in the end, the public funds disappeared? Wasn't this the behavior of a scammer? I was wondering how the Qin family took root in a wealthy family. There's nothing more disgusting than the Qin family. TSK, a family of rich scammers. I feel like vomiting just looking at them. Qin Yu, Qin Lang, Qin Youjiao. They're all from the Qin family. Soon, the fans who had always claimed that Qin Youjiao was the elder young miss of the Qin family started to kick the Qin family far away from them. Jiao Jiao doesn't know anything. Jiao Jiao is studying overseas. Passerby, let go of my Jiao Jiao. Didn't the Qin family say that my Jiao Jiao isn't a member of the Qin family? We have nothing to do with this kind of scammer either. Take my Jiao Jiao away. Doesn't their family only want someone with blood relations and look down on our talented young pianist? Let the real young lady be scolded. Goodbye. Give me back my phone. Yu Manran stomped his feet anxiously. I picked this flower. What does it have to do with Qin Yu? Aren't you afraid of death? How many fans does Qin Yu have? How many fans do you have? If it were you, you would have been killed by the anti-fans long ago. The manager disagree. Besides, best actor Qin won't feel any better if you go and get scolded. Someone's obviously someone who's messing with the Qin family. Then what should I do? You can't just pretend you don't know. Yu Manran suddenly thought of something. Gur, we can look for Gur about this. Next. No matter what his manager said, Yu Manran called Bei Yunj. What happened? Bei Yunj had just wrapped up the project. Yu Manran told Bei Yunj the whole story. I understand. Bei Yunj paused for a moment. Wait a little longer. Hearing Bei Yunj's words, Yu Manran completely relaxed. Okay. Qin family's old residence. What the hell is going on? Qin Luyan, are you stupid enough to use so much money to raise a woman? When old Master Qin saw the news, he almost couldn't breathe. Qin Luyan's voice was indifferent. Grandpa, you have your own private savings. When the time comes, just take Gu away. You. Old Master Qin really doted on Bei Yunj, but that didn't mean he didn't dote on his biological grandson. How much do you need for that project? Old Master Qin asked. Your private savings can't make up for this whole, Qin Luyan said slowly. Old Master Qin was speechless. End of chapter. Chapter 933. You're doing such a big business. How could you not be mentally prepared for this? Qin Luyan, have the words I usually taught you been eaten by dogs? The more old Master Qin scolded him, the harsher it became. Qin Luyan turned a blind eye to it. If it was in the past, Qin Luyan wouldn't have ignored it. But now, Qin Luyan's focus was on Bei Yunj. He would rather have something happen to the corporation than to have anything happen to Bei Yunj. As Yu and Lang's eldest brother, I've also prepared some money for them. After you go abroad, there won't be any accidents. Qin Luyan seemed to have known that this would happen. This stunned old Master Qin. Yen, tell me, what's going on? Qin Luyan looked up and saw the old man's nervous expression. A strange look flashed across his eyes. He simply told him the gist of the matter. Old Master Qin fell into deep thought. He didn't expect so much to be involved. Yen, if this matter isn't resolved, grandfather is still here. Old Master Qin's words made Qin Luyan freeze. After experiencing his previous life, Qin Luyan was used to preparing for the worst and bearing it himself. Qin Luyan hid his expression. "Grandfather, I've already invited someone over to talk. At this point, this matter isn't something that can be solved with a compensation." "Who did you invite?" Old Master Qin was stunned. Actually, in his previous life, Old Master Qin had left early. No one knew Old Master Qin's true identity. "You'll know later." Not long after, a gorgeous woman arrived late. "CEO Qin, sorry to keep you waiting." Xia Luqing was also quite surprised that this man who was in the center of public opinion could still maintain his calm and natural appearance. "Miss Xia, please take a seat." Qin Luyan went straight to the point. "I heard that Miss Xia is an intermediate member in CI7. Xia Luqing smiled. "CEO Qin is very well informed. I'm looking for Miss Xia because I hope that Miss Xia can do me a favor." After Qin Luyan finished speaking, Xia Luqing interrupted him. "I know why CEO Qin is looking for me, but I can't help you with this." Xia Luqing gave him an official smile, a little distant. "After all, I'm also very busy in CI7. In order to become a senior member this year, I spent a lot of time." Xia Luqing was CI7's Qing Lu. Some of the families in Cloud City knew about this. Because of Xia Luqing, the Xia family had a certain say in Yincheng. "Miss Xia, you can state your conditions." As soon as Qin Luyan finished speaking, the strange light in Xia Luqing's eyes disappeared. "I want 20% of the Qin Corporation's shares." After saying this, Qin Luyan and Old Master Qin looked up at her with the same coldness in their eyes. 20% of the Qin family's shares was not a small amount. They were taking advantage of the situation. Xia Luqing chuckled and said with a sense of superiority, "Actually, CI7 is hard to get. Without a referral, it's hard to register as a user, so it's not a bad deal." "CEO Qin, you know that as well." "Sure." Qin Luyan spoke. This made Xia Luqing smile even more gloomily. "Boss Qin, you're a straightforward person. Then the other condition will be easy to handle." Xia Luqing's tone did not allow for rejection. Her eyes were arrogant as she said indifferently, "Everyone knows that Bo Jinxiao is my cousin. But your daughter slapped my cousin's face in front of so many people in the past. Isn't she making things difficult for me?" She smiled. "I hope she can apologize to my cousin and not hurt the harmony between the two families." However, Xia Luqing did not notice that as soon as she finished speaking, a hint of mockery appeared in Qin Luyan's eyes. "P.S. There's still the monthly ticket increase. I'll continue to make up for it." End of chapter. Chapter 934. She still found it funny. "I heard from little Xiao that she only returned to the Qin family when she was 17. No wonder she doesn't know the rules." Book God House. These words were also hinting that Bei Yunj was uncultured. Even though she had never seen this person before. Suddenly, before Qin Luyan could speak, a voice suddenly attracted everyone's attention. "Bei Yunj caused trouble again?" Mrs. Qin was holding a bag and wearing a plain-colored dress. She looked well taken care of, but her eyes were filled with disgust. It was as if she had finally found a chance to find trouble with Bei Yunj. Old Master Qin and Qin Luyan frowned, their eyes filled with coldness. Tong Yueying. Old Master Qin rarely called Mrs. Qin by her real name, and it was obvious that he was angry. However, Mrs. Qin was not afraid. "Dad, can't you tell? The moment she came back, she caused so much trouble for the Qin family. Back then, when Jiao Jiao was around." "Shut up." Old Master Qin was instantly enraged. He suddenly laughed, scaring Mother Qin with his roar. When Mr. Qin heard this, he instinctively said, "Dad, that's not what Yueying meant," before he could finish speaking. No one expected Mr. Qin to be slapped by Old Master Qin. The crisp sound caused the atmosphere to freeze. Mr. Qin tilted his head back slightly, his expression stiff. Although Old Master Qin was strict with him, ever since he got married, Old Master Qin had never hit him. Ting. Mrs. Qin was so scared that her voice trembled. Old Master Qin looked at Mr. Qin expressionlessly, his voice cold. As a father, I didn't take good care of Gu back then. As a husband, I let my wife go crazy everywhere. Qin Ting, if I die, will Gu not be your daughter anymore? Mr. Qin's body stiffened. He could only take a deep breath. I wouldn't dare. Old Master Qin was strict with everyone. Even Qin Luyan had been punished by the family once. Only Bei Yunj, who came back at the age of 17, was Old Master Qin's beloved daughter. Seeing this scene, Xia Luqing's expression did not look too good. She had a feeling that Old Master Qin also wanted her to see this scene with her own eyes. Miss Xia, although Gu is naughty and mischievous, she won't do anything too outrageous. Old Master Qin said coldly, if you want an explanation, the Qin family can't give you one. Gu was the only daughter of the Qin family. As long as the men of the Qin family are alive, they can't let their wives and daughters be bullied. The old man's gaze was intimidating. As for Mother Qin, she didn't dare to say anything when she saw Old Master Qin hitting Father Qin. Only Xia Luqing's face was livid. She didn't notice the person walking in from outside. She smirked. Is that so? Mr. Qin, CI7 also has an order for the Qin family. If that's the case, then we have nothing to talk about. As soon as Xia Luqing stood up, she saw Bei Yunj standing behind her. The girl was excessively beautiful. She had black hair, red lips, and a pair of seductive eyes that were bright and unruly. CI7. Bei Yunj took off her Bluetooth headset, ignored the Qin couple, and placed the tea cake on the table. What order can CI7 come up with? Bei Yunj asked slowly. Xia Luqing reacted. This person should be Bei Yunj. She couldn't help but sneer. Miss Pei, do you know what CI7 is? Are you looking down on CI7? Bei Yunj glanced at her indifferently and sneered. Grandpa, I bought you tea cake. Try it and see what it's like. When Xia Luqing saw Bei Yunj's attitude, her face turned as black as the bottom of a pot. Pen God Pavilion. Chapter 935. At this juncture, Bei Yunj was still in the mood to buy tea cakes to make the old master happy. It was really as Bo Jinxiao had said. She was arrogant and insufferably arrogant. Good. The Qin family has a lucky star like Miss Pei. It seems like nothing will happen to them. Xia Luqing's tone was full of sarcasm. Bei Yunj slowly opened the box and snorted lazily. Do I need you to tell me that? Xia Luqing looked up instinctively, but met Bei Yunj's casual glance. It was inexplicably scary. Then, Xia Luqing was furious, as if she had not expected to be frightened by a high school student. She sneered, picked up her bag and left. Okay, then let's see how capable Miss Pei is to be so arrogant. After Xia Luqing left, she immediately sent a message to her acquaintance. She asked him to contact an old member of CI7 with some status to take on the Qin family's order. In the Qin family's old mansion. Why is the old master so angry? When Bei Yunj arrived at the door, she had actually heard Mr. Qin and Mrs. Qin's conversation and saw how protective old Master Qin was of her. Sometimes, Bei Yunj was indeed envious of the original owner for having such kinship. Perhaps it was because old Master Qin's personality was similar to Bei Yunj's grandfather, who had passed away early in her previous life, so she paid more attention to him. The old master glared at her. Don't interrupt my lecture. Okay, let's eat first. The moment Bei Yunj finished speaking, she picked another piece of tea cake and sent it to the old master's mouth. The old master took a big bite instinctively. When he regained his senses, his body froze. He glared at Bei Yunj and took another bite of the tea cake in his hand. He glanced at the Qin couple coldly. Know your place. Yan is in charge of the family now. If you two don't know your place, leave the Qin family as soon as possible. These words made Mrs. Qin's expression turn ugly. She did not expect the old master to dote on Bai Yunj to this extent. Mr. Qin pursed his lips. Got it, Dad. Mrs. Qin helped Mr. Qin upstairs to treat his bruises. Bai Yunj said, I've returned the money to your account. Qin Luyan's eyes flickered. He did not expect Bai Yunj to know that he had transferred the money to her account. Old Master Qin was also a shrewd person. When he heard this, he immediately realized why Qin Luyan had no money in his account. Who would have thought that they would all be transferred to Gu? The old man was very surprised. After all, his eldest grandson had a weak sense of kinship since he was young. Even to her biological parents and the Qin Yojiao from back then, she was polite and distant. However, she did not expect Qin Luyan to treat Bai Yunj so well. The man's ink-black pupils melted the coldness, and under the thin lens, the gentleness in his eyes was reflected. His thin lips curved upwards. Gu, there's no need for that. This isn't the time to transfer the money. Big brother can handle this matter. The old master also replied, Gu, listen to your brother. Seeing that the two of them were determined not to let her handle it, Bai Yunja's eyes moved and she didn't say anything more. She sat on the sofa and happened to scroll through the latest headlines. #Umanran's friend #Umanran's Juliet's Rose After Bai Yunj clicked on it, she saw that someone had taken a screenshot of Umanran's selfie from before. The background was filled with roses from the MV. There was also Umanran's reply to his fans. Man's cutie duo, Man, the roses are so beautiful. The director is so attentive. Umanran V replied to Man's cutie duo, my friend gave it to me, it's super beautiful. The marketing account that sent these screenshots was still maliciously scolding Umanran for lying. Whose friend could give Juliet roses? End of chapter. Chapter 936. Then. The comments section was also filled with malicious replies. I'm vomiting. Does this sister really think that she's a superstar just because she's associated with Yun? Giving Juliet roses? What kind of friend is he? I want to get to know him too. He's probably a sugar daddy. You've embarrassed yourself overseas. Our nation is already reporting that the best actor of a nation stole the roses of Bacton Manor in the MV. Don't you think it's embarrassing? Qin Yumanran, Bacton Manor is comparable to the Bayan Manor. How can the Our nation not be angry? Bai Yunja's eyes were filled with playfulness, but there was no warmth. After sending a message to Butler's son, she went to the second floor to get a spare computer. Soon. Clarification messages appeared on the foreign and domestic websites, stating that the roses in Qin Yu's MV were given by his owner. And the name of the account was Bacton Butler. At first, everyone did not believe it. However, seeing that Butler's son had started a live stream, everyone could not help but click on it. The moment they entered, they saw Butler's son walking leisurely in Bacton Manor with a selfie stick, introducing the interior of the building. The architectural style of Bacton Manor was elegant and grand. Every corner was filled with art. It was built by the most famous architect of the last century. When Butler's son walked to the flower bed, everyone almost screamed. The 1 to 200 square meters of flower bed was covered by half a spherical glass. Inside was a large patch of Juliet roses. They even heard Butler's son sigh. The air here is very good. It has the fragrance of flowers. On the screen, someone was already typing crazily. This is the King fragrance of flowers? It's the fragrance of money. Ah, is this the life of a rich person? Then. They heard Butler's son sigh faintly. Originally, the Juliet roses in this area were very beautiful, but they were all cut off by elder Miss and given to her friends. The camera turned and it was a patch of newly transplanted Juliet roses that had not bloomed yet. Someone asked in the live stream. Mr. Butler, how much did this transplant cost? When Butler's son saw it, he smiled lightly and said, it's not a big expenditure. Excluding the price of Juliet itself, it's about 70 million yuan. After all, it was flown in from another country. It's easy to die on the way. These words had already shocked the people in the live stream into silence. A few minutes later, So, Yu Manren's friend is really the owner of Bacton Manor? The butler smiled without hesitation. Yes, that's the first friend that Miss brought home. When eldest Miss returned to China, she even cut a few Juliets and gave them away. Very soon. Someone in the live stream asked. Yu Manren is the koi, right? F***ck, one was Yun and the other was the owner of Bacton. Always receiving help from a benefactor? Why can't I meet a friend like Master Bacton? Ah, Butler's son, do you think I still have any hope of becoming your colleague? Butler's son smiled. Of course. Our requirements for housekeepers and servants are to graduate from one of the top 200 schools in the world, be proficient in 5 languages, and have strong life skills and learning ability. If you have good culinary skills, I can lower the requirements. F***ck, who among the top 200 graduates would still want to be a servant or housekeeper? Next. They heard Butler's son say with a gentle smile, in our nation's currency, the minimum annual salary is 7 figures. Instantly. The audience was almost speechless. The world of the rich was indeed dull and boring. In a certain entertainment company. The female artiste who was also watching the live stream was even angrier. She gritted her teeth. This B***tch, how does she know Master Bacton? End of chapter. Chapter 937. Sister Meng, Yu Corporation has issued a statement. The manager's face was pale as she spoke to the woman sitting on the sofa. What Yu Corporation? The woman asked irritably. Yu Corporation. As soon as she finished speaking, the woman's body stiffened and she immediately snatched the manager's phone to check. Yu Corporation, we are only issuing a statement on behalf of Mr. Yu Hanran. Recently, there has been false information about Mr. Yu Hanran's sister, Ms. Yu Manran. We will collect evidence and take legal action. Mr. Yu Hanran will sue the person who manipulated the public opinion behind the scenes. In an instant, the woman's legs went soft and her voice trembled. How could she be President Yu's sister? Didn't the industry say that Yu Manran was from the grassroots? Quick, delete those things. After the woman reacted, she immediately asked someone to delete them. But at this time, it was as if the backstage had been locked and could not be moved. The technician's face turned pale. How could this be? Sister Meng, this can't be deleted. The woman's eyes almost turned black and her heart sank. How could she not know that someone had done this on purpose? Bei Yunj found the source of the public opinion. It was a female artist who had done this. Because she had offended the director on set, her job had been changed to Yu Manran's at the last minute. Therefore, she had deliberately defamed Yu Manran. After all, she did not dare to challenge the director. She could only vent her anger on Yu Manran. But she did not expect to provoke Yu Hanran. Bei Yunj looked at the backstage that she had locked and knew that someone had deliberately pushed her from behind. She sneered. Her beautiful eyes were indifferent, but there was no warmth. It seemed that she still had to meet this person. Not long after, Bei Yunj sorted out the evidence and sent it directly to Yu Hanran. The onlookers online were completely shocked. Yu Manran was actually the sister of President Yu of Yu Corporation? Then why was she being trampled on by some B-list celebrities? After Yu Manran became famous, her identity became a point of contention. Some female celebrities with good family backgrounds often said that Yu Manran was poor and wore fake goods. But in the end, she was the eldest daughter of the Yu Corporation? F***ck, my man is actually the eldest daughter of the Yu family? This is great, this is great. You don't have to worry about Man being bullied in the future. No wonder he could enter Yuther residence and be friends with Bakerton. Sister Meng, are you there? Did she forget how she had criticized Man for being a country bumpkin? Wang Lin Meng, question, President Yu is too handsome. You spoil our Man so much. Are men these days all so fond of their sisters? Next. A few hours later, the Yu Corporation sent out a lawyer's letter and a large amount of evidence, which directly sent Wang Lin Meng to the hot search list. People in the industry began to avoid Wang Linmeng. Even the financier behind Wang Linmeng simply turned a blind eye and let the Yu family deal with it. After going downstairs, only then did Bei Yunj remember about CI7. She clicked into her personal platform and checked the recent orders. There was indeed a list about the Qin family. Bei Yunj took a bottle of ice water from the fridge and sent a message in the group chat. Max, who accepted this order? Picture, the group chat was immediately heated up. Shi Xiong, Big Boss is out. Shi Xiong, Big Boss, don't you look at the group chat? They had tagged her in the group chat for half a month, but she didn't send a single message. Peng Hu. No one in the group will accept this order. Chapter 938. Stinging Bear, Fat Tiger is right. This price should be accepted by a newbie in the bureau. Peng Tiger, shut up. Stinging Bear, Max, are you going to accept it? Xian Yuan, Max, did something happen? This was the first time Xian Yuan saw Bei Yunj appear, but he felt that something was going to happen with Bei Yunj's personality. Max, nothing. Max, it's just that my surname should be Qin. The four people in the group almost lost their grip on their phones. So this order happened to be that someone was going to attack Max's family? Crouched Eagle, Max, aren't you afraid that we'll investigate you if you expose yourself like this? These words were somewhat teasing. After all, to them, Max was just a newbie. But soon after. Max, if you're afraid, you won't send it. These words were arrogant and unruly, but surprisingly, they liked them. They also knew what Max meant by doing this. She was putting the Qin family under her protection. After sending the message, Bei Yunj put his phone back in his pocket and stopped looking at the group chat. The others were still chatting. Stinging Bear, the Qin family of Country A? Are they very famous? Crouched Eagle, whether they're famous or not, are you going to fight with Max? Stinging Bear, that was not the case. Max had become famous overnight in the industry, and many people wanted to dig up information about her. The few of them were not interested in provoking a big shot. Xian Yuan, I'll take care of this matter. You guys keep your mouths shut. The rest of them responded lazily. At the same time, Xia Luqing was still driving, waiting for an acquaintance to inform her. Soon, the phone rang. After Xia Luqing picked it up, she received an unexpected message. What did you say? He didn't accept this order. Xia Luqing's expression changed. She did not expect this to happen. She immediately said, then give me the order. I'll take it. Originally, the intermediate members would not be able to receive this order, so Xia Luqing could only ask the senior members to accept it. However, if the senior members did not accept it, it would be in line with the rules to pass it to the intermediate members. Green Heron. The order has been cancelled. The man said awkwardly. Xia Luqing suddenly braked. She felt terrible. What did you say? That person continued. The VIP member who originally accepted this order was also suspended from accepting orders for a month. This was an instruction from the headquarters. Qing Lu, someone is protecting the Qin family. Could it be that you've offended the Qin clan? This is impossible. How could the Qin family know someone from CI7? Xia Luqing's face turned pale as she said emotionally. If you don't believe me, you can check backstage. The order has already been refunded. The person hung up the phone. Xia Luqing refused to believe it and immediately went backstage to check. But he didn't expect that the order would really be rejected. The next day, Bei Yunj had just gone downstairs and was about to leave when she heard Huashidu call out to her. Yun Yun. Bei Yunj came to her senses and immediately walked to the table to get the porridge. She was about to finish it in one gulp. The man raised his eyebrows and tapped the table with his slender fingers. Sit down and drink. But I'm rushing. After Bei Yunj met the man's gaze, she was silent for a moment before sitting down at the table. The man handed her the spoon. I'll send you to school later. Bei Yunj, she suddenly forgot that she had not told Huashidu about this. Actually, I'm not in a hurry. Bei Yunj buried her head in the porridge. You'll be late in half an hour. Aren't you anxious? Huashidu asked. End of chapter. Chapter 939. Bei Yunj choked on the porridge and immediately covered her mouth. However, just as she was about to find an excuse, she looked up and met the man's indiscernible eyes. Brother, if I tell you now that I've quit school, Bei Yunj did not dare to look into the man's eyes. After all, Huashidu had always been very strict with her regarding school matters. As expected. As soon as she finished speaking, the atmosphere was cold for a long time. She heard the man laugh mysteriously. His tone was light and lazy. Yunyun, are you informing me? Bei Yunj, that was not it. The man glanced at the little girl beside him. In the end, he adjusted his emotions and said slowly, eat first. Hearing this, Bei Yunj ate silently without saying a word. She even drank the pure milk that Huashidu handed her, which she did not like to drink. Today, in order to show off, she drank the entire glass. Huashidu glanced over and saw that the little girl's ears and jawline were slightly red. He thought that the little girl was embarrassed. Are we going to school later? Huashidu asked. This time, it was obvious that he wanted Bei Yunj to tell the truth. Perhaps it was because she had stayed up all night to check on the Qin family's project, but Bei Yunj felt a little dizzy. It was only when she heard Huashidu's words that she reacted. To the Qin family. Bei Yunj briefly told Huashidu about the Qin family. Huashidu rarely heard any rumors in the company. Indeed, he did not know that these changes had happened to the Qin family. You've been worried about this for the past 2 days? The man lifted his eyelids and asked unhurriedly. She did not tell him about the Qin family. She did not tell him about her suspension either. Yes. Bei Yunj was about to say something when Huashidu suddenly glanced over. Tsingsu happened to walk over from the door. The man suddenly said, Tsingsu, send her to the Qin family. Bei Yunj, ? Tsingsu could clearly feel the resistance in Miss Pei's eyes and the warning to him. Master Du, I think you have nothing to do at home. Why don't you? Tsingsu had originally thought that these two were just throwing a tantrum, which would give Master Du a way out. But when he saw the man's casual gaze, he immediately changed his words. Why don't you rest for a while and wait for me to come back to pick you up and take you to the company? After saying this. On the other side, Bei Yunj glanced coldly at Tsingsu. It was a blatant threat. Tsingsu was howling in his heart. Was he the only one who wasn't human? Why did these two people treat him like this when they were throwing tantrums? Brother, assistant sang, Bei Yunj felt that she could still fight for it. Not long after. Bei Yunj sat in the front passenger seat and couldn't help but laugh. Dog man. Beside him, Tsingsu was trembling with fear and turned a deaf ear. Only Miss Pei would dare to scold Master Du like that. Judging from Master Du's expression just now, Miss Pei must have upset him somehow. However, when Tsingsu came out of the car, he received a text message from Hua Jinyao, reminding him to bring a jacket to Bei Yunj. In the living room. Why didn't you tell me about the Qin family? Huashidu was on the phone with someone. Fear flashed across Zhou Yu's eyes. Sir, the Angel family is interfering in the Qin family's matters. However, the Angel family has always had a good relationship with the Fernan's family. Zhou Yu felt that this matter would make things difficult for Huashidu, so he did not report it. However, he did not expect to be questioned. Why? Are Fernan's people teaching you how to do things? The man's casual words caused panic to appear in Zhou Yu's eyes. No, I wouldn't dare. Zhou Yu braced himself. You can do whatever you want with the Angel family, but nothing can happen to the Qin family. The man took out a cigarette from the cigarette box, lit it, and held it between his slender fingers. Zhou Yu finally understood what that girl's position in Huashida's heart was. He didn't even care about the Fernan's family. At this moment, the Qin Corporation was already waiting for someone to negotiate. President Qin, as long as you hand over your shares, with your ability, we don't mind letting you continue staying in the Qin Corporation. A few higher-ups who had never been favored by Qin Luyan deliberately added insult to injury. When Old Master Qin heard this, his face darkened as he looked at these B** stars. What's wrong? Do I need outsiders to tell me what to do when I created the company myself? Old Master Qin's expression turned cold and his voice was dignified. Indeed, it scared many people. But then, the smug and sarcastic expressions on the faces of the higher-ups were exposed. Old Master, do you still think that the Qin Corporation is your Qin Corporation? If Qin Luyan can't fork out those tens of billions, we'll even sue him until he goes to jail. Qin Luyan's ink-colored eyes swept across them. He did not panic. Instead, he was unbelievably calm. He sneered. Sue me? Let's wait and see. Secretary Wu. Qin Luyan shouted. An assistant Wu came over to take the USB flash drive in Qin Luyan's hand and walked to the display screen. Assistant Wu gritted his teeth. He still felt that Qin Luyan's efforts had all been fed to the dogs. How was Bai Yunj worth Boss Qin's attention? Over the past 6 months, Boss Qin had been collecting evidence of corruption among the higher-ups, as well as the criminal evidence of that person abroad. However, he did not expect that before the evidence had been collected, Boss Qin would have to perish together with these people in order to protect that Missy who only wanted to enjoy life for 100 years. Thinking of this, Assistant Wu was indignant, but he had no choice but to listen to Qin Luyan's arrangements. However, just as the evidence was about to be laid out in front of everyone, the information on the USB flash drive had only been refreshed for a second in front of everyone's eyes, but it had suddenly disappeared. Assistant Wu panicked. What's going on? Looking at this scene, Qin Luyan was much calmer than Assistant Wu. Miss Elena, good move, he said casually. Just as expected. The next moment, Elena walked into the conference room with a few people. Indeed, I still didn't see you tonight. Elena flipped her hair and sat opposite Qin Luyan. She supported her chin with both hands and was even more mesmerized by this man. You're so amazing, Boss Qin. In just half a year, he had actually collected so much evidence. If Qin Luyan was given another 2 to 3 years to strengthen himself, the Angel family would probably be played by him. Fortunately, Hans discovered this quickly. Otherwise, he would have really died in this man's hands. Elena smiled. Indeed, the most charming man is the most dangerous. What should I do? At this point, the woman's snow-white legs were already rubbing against the man's suit pants. But very quickly, the man avoided contact with Elena. She smiled. I really like a man like Boss Qin. The fragrance on Elena's body was pungent. She leaned closer to Qin Luyan and said in a cold voice, if I can't have it, I'd rather destroy it. Suddenly. Someone suddenly barged in. End of chapter. Chapter 940. The door was slammed open. Bai Yunj had just been thinking about Huashidu. Just as she came back to her senses, she saw that everyone at the conference table was looking at her. She paused. I'm sorry. As soon as she finished speaking, however, Bai Yunj was not embarrassed at all as she sat beside Old Master Qin. She slowly glanced at the higher-ups and Elena opposite her. This was Elena's second time seeing Bai Yunj, but she froze. She felt that the Bai Yunj in front of her did not look like the girl she had seen before. Her eyes were cold and unruly. Her eyes were curved and filled with a lazy coldness. She was just wearing a loose hoodie and her black hair was loose and slightly curled. She was already so beautiful that no one could ignore her. Let's continue. Bai Yunj's voice was clear and melodious. It was difficult to detect the slight hoarseness in it as she leaned lazily against the back of the chair. The others sneered, feeling that this elder miss was truly a hedonistic person. The Qin family was about to fall, yet she still dared to be so arrogant. Only Hans, who was beside Elena, sensed a certain gaze and instinctively looked up. He did not expect to meet Bai Yunj's interested eyes. He had a feeling that this person was a little familiar, but this was his first time in our nation. How could he know someone from our nation? Big Brother hasn't sent out the information on the USB drive yet? Bei Yunj suddenly asked. This made Elena's eyes fill with sarcasm. Hans was the best hacker in our nation. The only time he was humiliated was when he fought with Max. However, it was easy for him to deal with Qin Luyan, who was an outsider. Miss, it's probably impossible to find the information in the USB drive. When Hans heard this, disdain appeared in his eyes as he smiled meaningfully. As soon as he finished speaking, Bei Yunj knew what was going on. She licked her red lips and chuckled softly. There was a faint coldness in the depths of her eyes. But then, everyone heard Bei Yunj say leisurely, "Is that so? Why don't you try yours?" As soon as she finished speaking, the assistant, who was desperately refreshing the computer, frowned subconsciously. What on earth was Bei Yunj trying to do? "Miss Pei, do you know how to use a computer?" the assistant asked sarcastically. Very soon. Qin Luyan's magnetic voice rang out. Assistant Wu. Assistant Wu felt a chill run down her spine. She gritted her teeth and passed the laptop to Bei Yunj. Bei Yunj smirked and started to restore the data on Qin Luyan's USB drive. This made Hans, who had inadvertently glanced at the screen, freeze with disdain. This girl obviously knows how to use a computer. Moreover, his skill level was not low. According to Bei Yunj's recovery speed, she would soon be able to recover the information that Qin Luyan had sorted out. Hans's face paled as a thought flashed through his mind. She immediately walked over with the glass of water in her hand. Within a few seconds, before anyone could react, they saw Hans accidentally spilling water on the keyboard. The data that Bei Yunj was halfway through was also lost due to the computer's automatic blue screen. "Oh, Miss Pei, I'm so sorry. My hand slipped and I couldn't hold it properly." Hans smiled and apologized. However, Qin Luyan suddenly got up and walked to Bei Yunj's side. He held Bei Yunj's hand and checked. Bei Yunj's cold and fair skin was faintly red. The hot water in Hans's hand had splashed on her hand. "Goo, does it hurt?" The man, who did not even frown just now, suddenly bent down and gently blew on the back of the girl's hot hand. His cold voice was lowered. End of this chapter. Chapter 941. Miss Pei, I'm so sorry. My hand shook and I didn't hold it properly." Hans smiled and apologized. However, Qin Luyan suddenly got up and walked to Bei Yunj's side. He held Bei Yunj's hand and checked. Bei Yunj's cold and fair skin was faintly red. The hot water in Hans's hand had splashed on her hand. "Goo, does it hurt?" The man, who did not even frown just now, suddenly bent down and gently blew on the back of the girl's hot hand. His cold voice was lowered. Bei Yunj was not used to close contact. She subconsciously frowned and quickly avoided Qin Luyan's hand. "I'm fine." Bei Yunj's tone was a little cold. Assistant Seng, bring my computer up. At this moment, everyone then realized that there was a familiar face standing beside Bei Yunj, but they could not remember who it was. "Yes, Mississippi." With that said, Hans's expression changed. He was worried that Bei Yunj had a backup. Hadn't he already destroyed the backup? Could it be that this person still had a copy of the information? 5 minutes later, Assistant Singh brought the computer upstairs. Bei Yunj stood up, pulled out the card reader from the computer, and plugged it into the equipment in the conference room. When she looked up again, Bei Yunj's eyes curved. She smiled lazily and said in a slightly cold voice, "Your hand shook, right?" "Continue, my computer is very waterproof." Hans's heart skipped a beat and he suddenly had a bad feeling. Then, he saw several folders appear on the screen. Hans gritted his teeth and was about to pounce on her and smash Bei Yunj's computer when Bei Yunj stopped him. But Sing Su, who was next to him, grabbed his hand. Sing Su's gaze turned cold as he looked at him warningly. "What are you trying to do?" B*TCH. "Do you know what family we are from?" Hans gritted his teeth in hatred. He had not expected such an accident. But the moment he finished speaking, before Hans could react, Sing-Su kicked his knee and he knelt down. Hans raised his head and heard the sound of a swivel chair sliding backwards. He saw Bei Yunj walking towards him. Without saying a word, she slapped him across the face. Hans's head was knocked to the side, and his head was buzzing. The crisp sound caused the atmosphere to freeze by a few degrees. Bei Yunj's beautiful eyes curved, but she was still angry. She sneered condescendingly, "Do you know whose place this is?" "Huh? What are you doing?" Elena was furious. She did not expect that someone would dare to touch her men. "Bei Yunj, do you know what will happen to the Qin family if you dare to go against me?" Elena's gloomy eyes fell on Bei Yunj. The Angel family was a big family with a lot of assets. It was impossible to make them fall immediately. A centipede dies but never falls down. Bei Yunj said unhurriedly, "Sing-Su, continue." Suddenly, Sing-Su then gave Hans a fierce punch, causing his eyes to turn black. Hans howled in pain. Sing-Su grabbed his collar and continued to punch him in the face. Bei Yunj's bright and unruly eyes revealed a terrifying danger and hostility. She said unhurriedly, "Did you see that? In my place, you're no different from other people's dogs." Everyone felt their scalps go numb for some reason. They felt that they would be next. Even Qin Luyan and Old Master Qin felt that the Bei Yunj in front of them was extremely unfamiliar. "What are you looking at? Hurry up and call the police." Elena was furious and glared at the higher-ups of the Qin family. Chapter 942. But Elena's face turned pale. Could it be that Qin Luyan had a backup plan? This evidence was far more detailed than the one she had asked Hans to delete 2 days ago. There was even her business in the gray area. It had all been dug out. The signed documents, recordings, and videos, not a single one was missing. Even if Angel wanted to fish her out, he would have to skin her alive. "Qin Luyan, I've never killed you from the beginning to the end. Why are you doing this to me?" Elena gritted her teeth, wishing she could drag the refined and handsome man in front of her to hell. When the fat executive who made the call reacted, his face turned pale and he immediately hung up the call. Qin Luyan frowned but did not say anything. He instinctively walked to Bei Yunj's side, afraid that Elena would go crazy and attack Bei Yunj. A cold glint flashed past Elena's eyes. Then, she pursed her lips and walked to Qin Luyan's side. "Boss Qin, let me off. I only did this because I wanted you." "Let you off?" Qin Luyan's tone was indifferent. How could he not see through this woman's tricks? Dream on. But then, just when no one noticed, Elena had unknowingly held a gun in her hand and pointed it at Bei Yunj behind Qin Luyan. "You won't let me off? Then can you bear to let her die with me?" The pitiful expression on Elena's face disappeared as she questioned with a cold smile. "Gun," she brought a gun. Someone immediately reacted and jumped in fright. Our nation did not control guns, but a nation prohibited private firearms. He did not know how this woman did it. She actually brought a gun with her? "Put the gun down." Old Master Qin was anxious. Qin Luyan froze as well. This was the first time Elena saw panic flash across Qin Luyan's eyes. She smiled coquettishly and gently hooked her index finger on the metal buckle on Qin Luyan's belt. "Boss Qin, help me delete it." "How about that?" This was also the first time Qin Luyan did not push her away. He was afraid that the gun in her hand would hurt Bei Yunj. Qin Luyan's voice was cold. "Put the gun down. I know it's useless to point a gun at you, so I won't be stupid." Elena said coldly with an expressionless face, "Qin Luyan, if you don't delete that information, I'll let her die before me." "Really?" Bei Yunj suddenly asked. Immediately after. Just as Elena was about to turn her head, she felt a cold touch against the back of her head. Elena froze as she recognized what it was. Lu Jian pressed the gun against the back of Elena's head and asked with a smile, "Miss, I'm Lu Jian, the captain of the reconnaissance team in Yin City. Which do you think is faster, your gun or mine?" Instantly, Elena froze. Only then did she realize that this was a trap. Bai Yunj had long known that she would do anything to make the evidence disappear, so she had been lying in wait for her. This was the first time in Elena's life that she had been tricked. Her eyes were gloomy. After Lu Jian's teammate took away her gun, Bai Yunj walked up to her. Take a guess. Could Wang Linmeng be in the same cell as you? Everyone was confused by Bai Yunj's words, but Elena suddenly remembered this person. She was the idiot who had deliberately arranged to deal with Qin Yu. However, these things were done very secretly and almost never went through her hands. How did Bai Yunj know? Who on earth are you? Elena suppressed her inexplicable panic and asked darkly. P.S. I fixed it a little in front. The little kid reminded me and found that it was a little repetitive, so I fixed the details. Chapter 943. Do you need to know? Bai Yunj quickly looked away from her, as if she did not need to spend any effort on her. This made Elena feel naked humiliation. Bai Yunj, just you wait. Elena clenched her teeth as she finished speaking. Then, she was dragged to the door. Do you know why they haven't left yet? Because I still have some gifts for everyone. Bai Yunj sat on the swivel chair again and twirled her pen with one hand. The corners of her lips curled up. Everyone, does anyone else want to try and touch the Qin family's foundation? With that said, everyone on the scene was silent. No one dared to stand out. It was only after the people outside left that Qin Luyan regained control of the situation. Bai Yunj sat at the side with one hand on her head, as if she was watching lazily. However, the person that these higher-ups were most wary of right now was this young girl. He could not help but say that to see Bai Yunj's reaction. When the crowd dispersed. After these people left, Bai Yunj looked up and tugged at her collar. Her head felt even heavier. But she did not show it just now. Grandpa, I'll go back first. After Bai Yunj finished speaking, she realized that her voice was a little hoarse. Where did you get this information from? After Old Master asked, Bai Yunj said without blushing, Brother Shidu gave it to me. Sing Su. Old Master was stunned for a moment before he nodded. Shidu, thank you. Sing Su, you can go back first. I have something on later. After Bai Yunj finished speaking, Sing Su felt that this was not good. He insisted on following Bai Yunj downstairs. He wanted to see Bai Yunj get into the car before he could leave in peace. What are you waiting for? Can you repair your relationship with Gu? Old Master glared at Qin Luyan angrily. Qin Luyan regained his senses from the memory of Bai Yunj pulling his hand away just now and nodded in understanding. I'll send Gu off. In the hall. Bai Yunj licked her red lips. Hearing Sing Su's noisy voice, she couldn't help but move away from him. But halfway there, Bai Yunj's consciousness suddenly blurred. Very soon. When Qin Luyan saw that something was wrong with Bai Yunj, he immediately strode forward. Sing Su turned around and widened his eyes. Miss Pei. The next second. The people in the hall saw their refined and noble young CEO carrying a little girl in his arms. Chairman Qin, let me send Miss Pei to the hospital. Assistant Wu, go get the car. After Qin Luyan finished speaking, he glanced at Sing Su indifferently with a hint of warning in his dark eyes. Assistant Sing suddenly reacted. She almost forgot that the three brothers of the Qin family were not easy to deal with. Especially when it came to Bai Yunj. Next. Qin Luyan looked up and snorted softly. His magnetic and pleasant voice was mixed with disdain and mockery. Why? Do you want to learn from your master and overstep your boundaries? Assistant Seng was speechless. Indeed, Chairman Qin had been unhappy with Master Du for a long time. His sister was only close to a man who was not related to her by blood. This was the shame of having a sister complex. Seeing Qin Luyan take Bai Yunj away, Assistant Seng hesitated. Pei. Fortunately, Chairman Qin was her biological brother. Even Sing Su, who often followed Shidu around, was occasionally stunned by Qin Luyan's gaze. A person like Qin Luyan would become very terrifying as long as he was given time. End of chapter. Chapter 944. In the car. Bei Yunj frowned in a daze and could not help but scratch her neck. Qin Luyan looked down and saw from the corner of his eye that Bei Yunj's snow-white neck was red. He immediately grabbed her hand. Are you allergic? Qin Luyan frowned. He remembered that Mrs. Qin had an allergic constitution, but this did not happen to him and Qin Yu. Then, Qin Luyan leaned over and touched Bei Yunj's forehead with his forehead. He realized that Bei Yunj was no longer having a normal fever. The temperature was frighteningly high. However, in the conference room just now, Bei Yunj did not show it at all. She just did not say anything after that. President Qin, you'd better not be so close to Mississippi. What if Miss is contagious? Assistant Wu frowned. Qin Luyan glanced at him coldly. You can find someone to hand over your work in 2 days. President Qin? Assistant Wu froze in disbelief. He had been by Qin Luyan's side for a long time. Qin Luyan did not explain at all. He only saw Bei Yunj look up at him with her eyes half open. It was as if she did not know what to say. Qin Luyan restrained the emotions in his eyes and only rubbed her head. He chuckled softly and his voice was unbelievably gentle. Sleep for a while. Brother is here. Bei Yunj looked down and thought of Qin Luyan's dim gaze in the conference room just now. She closed her eyes, but did not fall asleep. In the hospital. She's only sent here when she has such a high fever. If it was any later, she would have turned stupid from the fever. The attending doctor chuckled. The girl's eyelids twitched. Then, she looked up at the doctor slowly. It was the first time the doctor felt threatened by the patient on the bed. Just a high fever? Qin Luyan asked. The doctor reacted. And allergies. This girl is quite capable. It's so serious, but she doesn't feel anything? Bei Yunj was speechless. In her previous life, Bei Yunj had not fallen ill for more than 20 years, so she indeed could not react properly. Let's put her on an 4-drip and observe her for another day. After the doctor finished his examination, he said, the young lady has to stay here today. Do you want her family to accompany her? No need. Yes. Bei Yunj and Qin Luyan said at the same time. Suddenly, there was a knock on the door. The 3 of them turned around and saw a handsome man in a black double-breasted coat and a suit walking over. His beautiful peach blossom eyes were cold, and his short black hair was slightly messy and loose in front of his forehead. Compared to his usual noble and abstinent temperament, he had a bit more of a wolf's nature. It was obvious that he had rushed over. Bei Yunj leaned against the soft pillow behind her. She curved her eyes and met Huashidu's gaze. Seeing that Bei Yunj was awake, the chaotic emotions in Huashidu's eyes gradually calmed down. President Hua, I have something to tell you. Qin Luyan looked up at Huashidu. The tension between the 2 men grew stronger. Huashidu glanced at Bei Yunj before unbuttoning a button on his collar slowly. He said calmly, okay. After he left. The doctor looked at Bei Yunj's curved eyes and muttered softly, sigh, no matter how good brother is, he's not as good as brother Qin. Bei Yunj was speechless. Young lady, when your brother carried you over just now, he looked at you without blinking, afraid that something would happen to you. The doctor could not help but speak up for Qin Luyan. Bei Yunj could not be bothered to look up. Are you very free at work? The doctor gave a fake smile. The allergen hasn't been found yet. You must have eaten something that you don't often eat these few days. End of chapter. Chapter 945. I got it. Bei Yunj nodded. Thank you. The doctor could not help but take another look at Bei Yunj. He had thought that she was an elder young miss with a bad personality. He did not expect her to be all right apart from having a bad temper. Pay attention to your diet. After reminding her, the doctor could not help but want to see the battle between the 2 men at the door. Such a scene was rare. After the doctor left, Bei Yunja's eyes moved and she remembered what she had eaten these few days. Ever since she was arranged to be treated by Cui Hengchuan had sent her a grade 1 psychotropic drug some time ago. In the past few days, Bei Yunj had taken it once. Perhaps she was allergic to the drug. Outside the door. I don't want to beat around the bush with President Hui either. Actually, I've wanted to go home for a long time. Qin Luyan stood in the stairwell and said calmly. It's my fault that I didn't take good care of Yunyun. But if she goes back with President Qin, I'm afraid President Qin won't be able to understand the little girl's temper. Huashidu lit a cigarette and rejected Qin Luyan's request easily. With President Hua's personality, he would never take in a girl for no reason. Even if she's a friend's sister, this reason is ridiculous. Qin Luyan's indifferent tone was slightly mocking. I'm not Qin Yu. Do I want to know what President Hua means? Or does President Hua not plan to return her now? The man tapped the cigarette with his fingertips. After a while, he said slowly, then what if I change my tone? I want to ask President Qin for her. Is that okay? Qin Luyan paused. Indeed, he had never thought that Huashidu would say it so directly. Tseng Su arrived and saw Bei Yunj deep in thought in the ward alone. Miss, you're awake? Are you all right? How are you? Bei Yunj regained her senses. I'm all right. I'm just a little sleepy. She had just taken some medicine and fell asleep easily. Where's Master Du? Tseng Su asked. Bei Yunj said without thinking, he's chatting outside. With who? Qin Luyan, Bei Yunj said. Tseng Su was speechless. It was obvious that this ancestor had not realized that it was easy for troublesome accidents to happen when those two people were together. Miss Pei, are you angry with Master Du? For the past few days, Master Du has been preparing for old Madam's birthday. He has even prepared your gift. I reckon that when the time comes, he will bring you to the old house to stay for a while. Tseng Su said uneasily. Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows. She didn't quite understand why Tseng Su asked that. Am I angry? This morning, Master Du's attitude towards you. Tseng Su was deeply worried. When he called Master Du to report about Miss Pei, he could almost feel Master Du's nervousness at that time. Bei Yunj thought for a moment and suddenly smiled. That seems to be the case. Tseng Su. So Miss Pei had never thought of getting angry from the start. However, looking at Bei Yunj's current state, Tseng Su felt that his year-end bonus was no longer guaranteed. Soon. The person who entered was Huashidu. Before Tseng Su could speak, he caught a glimpse of Huashidu's gaze and immediately said sensibly, I'll go and ask the doctor about Mrs. dietary restrictions. I'll buy some food for Miss Pei. After Tseng Su left, Huashidu walked over and bent down. He reached out and touched Bei Yunj's forehead. Bei Yunj did not move. She could smell the man's pleasant and cold scent. Your temperature hasn't cooled down yet. You'll be fine after sleeping. Huashidu's gaze darkened and he retracted his gaze. End of chapter. Chapter 946. Brother, your hand is so cold. Bei Yunj shrank her neck in front of Huashidu, but her eyes were curled up lazily. It was obvious that she did it on purpose. When Huashidu heard Tseng Su say that Bei Yunj had fainted and rushed over, he was indeed in a sorry state. On the other hand, Bei Yunj only thought of the man rushing over in the wind and snow. It was engraved in the deepest part of her heart. I'm sorry. Brother, be careful next time. Huashidu quickly let go of her hand. It's snowing outside? Bei Yunj did not pay attention to the window either. Now, her eyes refused to leave the man's body. Yes. Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows and felt that the man was a little pressured. She watched as Huashidu reached out to help her adjust the blanket. Suddenly, she smiled and said, Brother, it seems to be red. With that said, Bei Yunj followed his gaze and looked down at the red patches on her hand. There's ointment on the table. Bei Yunj leaned back. Her gaze was lazy, but her eyes were so clear and seductive. Hoshidu's pale-colored eyes glanced at her. His slender hand picked up the ointment. After opening it, his deep and lazy voice sounded. "Give me your hand." Bei Yunj naturally placed her hand on the man's iron suit pants. Not long after, the cold ointment was applied on her hand. "What did you talk about when you went out just now?" Bei Yunj asked casually. Hoshidu's well-jointed hand held a cotton swab and carefully applied the ointment on the little girl. He said casually, "He said that the next time you fall sick, he will tear down my company." Bei Yunj did not take it seriously and said, "I thought that he would not let me live with brother." "Why? Do you think I'm old?" Hoshidu looked up and wiped some ointment on her face. Bei Yunj, was this D*MN man becoming more and more unreasonable? Tseng Su's words were fleeting in her mind, and he sounded quite righteous. "You were the one who didn't want to see me this morning." She originally thought that Hoshidu would continue to say something, but she did not expect the man to be silent for a moment and reply in an abnormal manner, "Yes, it's my fault. I won't let anyone take Yun away in the future." Hoshidu looked straight at her, a little secretive. He curled his lips and reached out to scratch her chin. "I don't feel at ease leaving it to anyone." This was the first time Bei Yunj realized that this man, who always looked casual and carefree, could actually be nervous and uneasy. He would think that it was his fault and apologize to her. "The back of my neck is also itchy." Bei Yunj licked her lips and suddenly said. When Hoshidu heard this, his clean and beautiful hands gently parted her long hair, revealing the back of the girl's fair and dazzling neck. The man's eyes suddenly darkened. Following the girl's loose collar, he inadvertently peeked at the girl's flawless back. Hoshidu was still adjusting his emotions. His eyes were dark and unfathomable. Suddenly, the girl rubbed against his neck gently and itchily. Bei Yunj curled her lips and deliberately rubbed the ointment on her face on the man's good-looking jawline. "Brother, Tseng Su doesn't know that I like that grayish-green long coat." These few days, it was probably because she had been doing high-intensity scientific research missions. Yesterday, she had stayed up all night to collect evidence from the Angel family. She did not notice that something was wrong with her body, so she inevitably had a high fever. "This is the allergy medicine you asked for, young lady." The doctor handed the medicine to Bei Yunj and looked at Bei Yunj strangely. "Do you know what you're allergic to?" End of this chapter. Chapter 947. "Thank you, doctor." Bei Yunj didn't say anything else. The doctor was speechless. This was the most difficult patient to communicate with he had ever seen. After the doctor left, Bei Yunj called Si Qingyan. "What's the special ingredient in the medicine Chui Hengchuan sent me?" "What's wrong?" Si Qingyan asked instinctively after reading these papers with a dark expression. When he heard Bei Yunj's voice, he asked instinctively. "I'm a little allergic." Si Qingyan was surprised. "Allergic? I heard that this medicine has been prepared for a long time. Its safety is not high on the market. Only 1 in 10,000 cases might be allergic." Bei Yunj's eyelids twitched. "What are you trying to say?" "That's not it either." Si Qingyan smiled. "However, it will take a lot of time for the Research Institute to develop a new medicine." "Have you been well recently?" Bei Yunj licked her lips, her voice still a little hoarse. "I don't know. Actually, ever since she stayed by Hoshidu's side, she rarely lost control. But recently, her situation had worsened." "Then you're allergic to this medicine. It's better not to take it first." Si Qingyan frowned. "After all, there are only a few test subjects. I'm afraid there might be other side effects. Okay, I'll hang up first." Bei Yunj's perfunctory tone was obvious. After hanging up, Bei Yunj glanced at the allergy medicine in her hand and stuffed it back into her pocket. After being hospitalized, Bei Yunj was brought back to the Hua family's old mansion. As soon as she entered the hall, she saw Wen Zhuan playing with Momo. When Momo saw Bei Yunj, his eyes lit up. "Sister!" Alas howled and jumped onto Bei Yunj excitedly, circling Bei Yunj non-stop. Why did you gain weight again? Bei Yunj pinched Alas' cheek, but Alas licked her face and almost fell to the ground. Seeing this, Mo immediately went up and wanted to carry Alas away with all his might. Alas, calm down. You're not a 60-kilogram puppy anymore. Bei Yunj, who felt that her life was threatened, Wen Jiwan. After finally coaxing Alas away with snacks, Bei Yunj glanced at Wen Jiwan in the living room. I heard that you were sick, and Master Du took care of you for a long time, Wen Jiwan suddenly said, her tone a little sour. Yes. Bei Yunj answered calmly. Doesn't Miss Pei find it troublesome to stay at Master Du's place? Wen Jiwan pursed her lips. Bei Yunj glanced at Wen Jiwan and suddenly smiled. Her eyes were bright and moving. It's good that it's not troublesome to do certain things. Wen Jiwan did not react for a moment. When she did, her entire body froze. Bei Yunj. Wen Jiwan seemed to have flown into a rage out of humiliation, and her face was a little red. Yes. Bei Yunj responded naturally. Do you know what it means to be reserved? Wen Jiwan gritted her teeth. This girl was simply destroying Huashidu's image in her heart with her own hands. Reserved? A hint of interest flashed across Bei Yunj's eyes. She suddenly walked closer to her and lazily reached out to pick out her slender black shoulder strap. The snow-white shoulder strap and the black shoulder strap formed a strong sensory stimulation that made people blush and their hearts beat faster. But brother likes people like me. He also likes to play exciting games with me. Bei Yunj smiled lazily, her clear eyes unruly. When Jiwan's face turned red and she threw the thing in her hand over. You're hopeless. Bei Yunj caught it and realized that it was a box of fever medicine. P.S. Thank you for our little friend's votes. Master Pei's votes are quite good. At the beginning of the month, he still needs your monthly votes. End of this chapter. Chapter 948. However, just as Bei Yunj was playing with the box of medicine, a man's voice suddenly sounded from behind her. Yun. Bei Yunj's hand paused and the medicine fell to the ground. She did not know how long the man behind her had been here. Bei Yunj picked up the medicine and turned around to see the man not far away. The other guests had also come down from the empty living room on the second floor. Brother. Bei Yunj called out. When Huashidu had just entered, he had caught a glimpse of this young lady teasing him mischievously. Those words entered his ears neither lightly nor heavily. Come here. Huashidu reached out to her. Bei Yunj walked in front of him without thinking. Among the people who came downstairs was Xia Luqing, who had appeared before. That man is. Xia Luqing's eyes were filled with amazement as her heart pounded. Huashidu. When Jiwan glanced at Huashidu and also saw Yu Hanran, who had followed them in, she retracted her gaze unnaturally. The CEO of the Hua Corporation? Xia Luqing could not help but feel her heart beating wildly. However, when she saw the girl beside Huashidu clearly, her expression turned ugly. Bei Yunj? Why was she here? Downstairs. Bei Yunj stood on her tiptoes and sank her fingers into the man's short black hair, scattering the snow on his head. Although he was so handsome that he could appear on the cover, the living room was warm. When the snow melted, he would not feel so good. Yu Hanran, who had more snow on him than Huashidu, was speechless. Huashidu stretched out his hand lazily and pressed Bei Yunj's head. Before anyone else could think, this was the young CEO of the Hua Corporation who did not get close to women. They saw him take off his scarf and put it around the neck of the young lady in front of him. It's cold. Bei Yunj gasped. Her neck accidentally touched the outer circle of the scarf. The man curled his lips in a good mood. He rubbed the inner circle with his fingers and helped her put it on. We'll go to the second floor later. Don't go to the balcony to take in the wind, understand? In the distance. Xia Luqing's gaze was gloomy as she watched this scene. She quickly smiled and said, no wonder Miss Wen has liked Master Du for so many years. You know? After Wen Jiwan asked with a frown, she realized the identity of this person. She reckoned that when she first got in touch with the Wen family, she had already found out the ins and outs of everyone in the Wen family. Don't worry, Miss Wen. The Xia family is on the Wen family's side. I won't do anything to harm you. Xia Luqing smiled generously, but there was a trace of jealousy in her eyes. Wen Zhiwan was the most beloved eldest daughter of the Wen family. Compared to Bai Yunj, who returned to the Qin family at the age of 17, Qin Wanru had a halo around her since she was a child, which made others envious. Actually, I also think that Master Du and Miss Wen are a match made in heaven, Xia Luqing said with a smile. Who knew, however, when Zhiwan glanced at Xia Luqing and turned around to say faintly, is that so? Why do I feel like I deserve this unrequited love? Xia Luqing choked for a while, then smiled and said, there must be a special reason why Miss Wen likes Master Du so much. Because he's the best-looking man I've ever seen. Wen Zhiwan retracted her gaze and ignored Xia Luqing. She walked straight down. She disdained to play tricks to fight for a man. This was something that only fools would be proud of. Xia Luqing looked at Wen Zhiwan's back. Her eyes were gloomy, and she sneered. Wen Zhiwan glanced at Yu Hanran. When she saw him turn to look at her, she immediately turned around and left in another direction. End of chapter. Chapter 949. After going downstairs, Wen Zhiwan caught a glimpse of Bai Yunj sitting on the sofa. Everyone else was wearing suits and leather shoes or gowns. Only she was still wearing a simple sweater. That woman, stay away from her. Bai Yunj glanced at Wen Zhiwan and said slowly. Bai Yunj had glanced upstairs just now. Xia Luqing looked at Wen Zhiwan with an unfriendly gaze. Why? Wen Zhiwan asked. Bai Yunj continued to play the game with her head lowered. No reason. Thank you for the medicine. Wen Zhiwan was a little unnatural. I'm just thanking you for saving me last time. Otherwise, in such a gray area, if she was taken any messy photos, it would have a great impact on the Wen family. Wen Zhiwan was stubborn. I didn't say that I would give up. Bai Yunj did not say anything and continued to play. Then, Wen Zhiwan could not help but ask, where's Huashidu? I don't want to tell you. Wen Zhiwan was speechless. This person would definitely not be able to make any friends. Bai Yunj suddenly laughed. He went out. There seems to be a gathering. You're letting him go alone without a female companion? Wen Zhiwan was in disbelief. Bai Yunj said naturally, isn't there Yu Hanran? Wen Zhiwan was speechless. Something seemed wrong. Then, Yu Manran, who was drinking champagne beside her, choked on it without any effect. She thought of the last time Yu Hanran accompanied Huashidu to the banquet in female clothes. Okay, this disgusting memory came back. Not long after. The living room was lively. Old Madame Hua and a few old ladies of similar age sat together and chatted. She also saw many young and beautiful ladies from wealthy families. Many old ladies teased old Madame Hua and asked old Madame Hua to take the opportunity to arrange a blind date banquet. However, old Madame Hua only smiled and said, Shidu has his own ideas on this matter. If it were any other time, old Madame Hua would definitely take the opportunity to agree. But now, old Madame Hua's attitude clearly showed that she already had a candidate she liked. The old madam of the Wen family pursed her lips and was a little unhappy. The other old madams also felt that it was a pity. Everyone, including the noble ladies, had dressed up beautifully today. Wasn't it all to attract the attention of the young master of the Hua family? Pei, Grandma has candy here. Old Madame Hua liked Bai Yunj very much. When she looked at Bai Yunj, her eyes curved into crescents. Bai Yunj felt everyone's gaze on her. Bai Yunj gave up on the game and walked up to old Madame Hua expressionlessly. Look, I bought this in Neely last time. Momo loves it too. Old Madame Hua stuffed a large box of candies into Bai Yunj's hands. Bai Yunj nodded. Thank you, Grandma. The others immediately looked at each other, especially the appearance of the girl in front of them. The word outstanding could no longer be used to describe her. Her delicate eyebrows were bright and lively. The corners of her eyes seemed to be curved but not curved. However, her pair of clear and beautiful eyes carried a hint of laziness. This is the girl of the Qin family, Bei Yunj. Old Madame Hua happily introduced her to everyone. Suddenly, a voice beside her interrupted. I heard that Miss Pei seems to have taken a leave of absence. She took a leave of absence in her 3rd year of high school. Everyone turned their heads and saw Xiao Luqing walking over with a smile. She tried her best to smile amiably, but her eyes were filled with arrogance. These words were obviously meant to embarrass Bei Yunj. Take a leave of absence? Why didn't I know? Old Madame Hua frowned and was a little displeased with Xiao Luqing's words. End of this chapter. Chapter 950. Miss Pei is also 19 years old, right? Xiao Luqing held a glass of champagne in her hand, and her voice entered everyone's ears with a thought-provoking smile. 19 years old and still in high school. Wasn't it obvious that she had repeated her studies? Moreover, this girl had repeated her studies and even took a leave of absence. Was she crazy? Wen Jiuan frowned. Xiao Luqing. This woman was simply using her status as a member of CI7 to commit crimes. Xiao Luqing was also very disdainful of a timid young lady like Wen Jiuan. She chuckled and did not feel guilty. I'm sorry, I just wanted to know more about the guests. Maybe I know too much. Bei Yunj glanced at her leisurely and then turned to look at old Madame Hua. She did take a leave of absence. Why? Old Madame Hua had a headache. Originally, she was preparing to find connections to either send her to Yunqing University or Beichuan University. There's nothing to learn. Bei Yunj said without thinking. Old Madame Hua, the way the others looked at Bei Yunj also changed. Could it be that the Hua family had taken a fancy to such a young madam? But this was too useless. How could such a person secure her position as the young madam of the Hua family? Xiao Luqing could not help but laugh, as if she had vented her anger. However, I will take the college entrance exam. Bei Yunj looked at old Madame Hua and comforted her. Old Madame Hua did not know what to say. She was afraid that she would say something that she should not say and destroy this child's confidence. Then there should be no problem. Old Madame Hua forced a smile. Bei Yunj, but you don't look like there's no problem. At this moment, the other old madams also took the opportunity to laugh. Actually, my granddaughter's grades have always been good. She scored dozens of points in the college entrance exam last year. Old Madame Wen smiled but did not say anything. Then, someone immediately mentioned the Wen family. Wen Jiuan graduated from Yunqing University, right? Old Madame Wen smiled. Yes, this child has been good at studying since she was young. Everything else is average. Unlike your Zhou, he graduated from the best music academy in our nation. The old madams were showing off the results of their family's juniors. Only old Madame Hua's expression was slightly stiff. Actually, an outstanding junior like Shidu really needs a suitable match. A young madam said meaningfully, who doesn't want their descendants to be smarter? I don't want to inherit some messy genes and become stupid. But he didn't expect that. These words made old Madame Hua's face darken. She smiled and said in a gentle yet intimidating voice, I'm not worried about anything else. I'm just afraid that some of the younger generation will also have a crooked stick and learn the harshness and ignorance of their elders. These words directly stabbed the madam who had just spoken, causing her face to turn red and green. The people present could also see that old Madame Hua really liked this girl. Fortunately, the old madam's birthday banquet was tomorrow. Otherwise, it would be really embarrassing if the birthday banquet ended up like this. Bei Yunj looked at old Madame Hua and unconsciously smiled. I'm just taking a break from school. When the college entrance exam comes, I'll go to whichever school you want me to go to. Hearing this, old Madame Hua was very touched. Regardless of whether the little girl could get in or not, at least she had the heart to make her happy. Xiao Luqing's eyes were full of ridicule. Of course, old Madame Hua wants you to get into the best school. P.S. Are there no children voting? Master Pei's ranking is dropping. Pinch your face. Did the children vote for the monthly vote today? End of this chapter. Chapter 951. Old Madame Hua's voice turned cold. Whose junior is this? The atmosphere suddenly froze. The old madam was obviously unhappy. Xia Luqing's smile froze. She did not expect that her sarcasm towards Bei Yunj not only did not make the old madam dislike Bei Yunj, but she also disliked her. I brought Xiao Qing here. Old Madam Wen had a dignified smile on her face. She's an intermediate member of CI7. She was also the one who found the contact for Higgins' artificial intelligence project this year. Old Madam, on account of this, don't lower yourself to the junior's level. Old Madam Hua only glanced at Old Madam Wen indifferently. Pei, go upstairs and accompany Momo for a while. I'm afraid that he'll be disobedient again. Bei Yunj could tell that the old madam was sending her away. Okay. When Pei Yunj went upstairs, a young boy happened to walk in from the door. Sister. When Huai frowned and said unhappily, didn't I tell you not to find me a tutor anymore? They can't teach me anything at all. Wen Jiuan laughed. You still don't like him? He's a physics professor I met in our nation. He's an associate professor at Neely University. That's just a so-so. When Huai finished speaking angrily. Suddenly, he caught a glimpse of the person upstairs and his entire body froze. Why did that person look so similar to the assistant professor of Yun University's junior class? When Huai subconsciously wanted to go upstairs, but was stopped by Wen Jiuan. Nonsense. You can go up to the second floor? When Huai realized that he had recognized the wrong person. How could the immortal assistant professor of Yun University's junior class appear here? He was wrong. When Huai scratched his head with an annoyed expression. Then what kind of teacher do you want? Don't you usually complain that your progress is too slow? Wen Jiuan asked. When Huai was a student of Beichuan's junior class. After the competition with Yun University's junior class, the entire class crazily told Beichuan to go to Yun University to snatch him. I want the assistant professor of Yun University's junior class, Wen Huai said honestly. The assistant professor of Yun University's junior class? Wen Jiuan frowned. Sigh, I heard that she's not even a student of a professor at Yun University. She's just a teaching assistant that a professor at Yun University found through his connections. The more Wen Huai spoke, the more jealous he became. She's only 19 years old, and she's especially good-looking. At this moment, the others remained silent. Everyone knew that the young master of the Wen family was a student of the Beichuan junior class and was extremely smart. Then what kind of deity was the 19-year-old teaching assistant that the young master was talking about? A 19-year-old teaching assistant in the junior class? Old Madam Hua's scalp tingled when she thought about it. Suddenly, Xia Luqing smiled and said, if young Master Wen wants to meet her, perhaps I can help you check. Really? Wen Huai asked. I'm not free today. I have an appointment with an important person to meet with old Madam Hua. Xia Luqing smiled and said, we should be able to find out in 2 days. Thank you. Wen Huai's blood boiled. A while after old Madam Hua left, Wen Huai heard the ridicule and disdain of others. They seemed to be discussing a girl who had dropped out of school. Inner hall. Miss Xia is really amazing. She joined CI7 at such a young age. In the hall, there were people praising Xia Luqing non-stop. Everyone could see that the Xia family was now a third-tier family in Yuncheng. With Xia Luqing around, it was only a matter of time before they stood in the second tier. In the future, they would soar. Old Madam Hua, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to target Miss Pei. I was just a little surprised. End of this chapter. Chapter 952. While Xia Luqing was waiting for the video call, she tried to make her presence known to the old madam. However, the old madam did not even look up. This made Xia Luqing's eyes gloomy. She smiled casually and said, if the Hua family and the Wen family join forces, Higgins will definitely choose us. Old Madam Wen could not help but chuckle. Old Madam Hua doesn't like our Chin, but you should know that someone does. Old Madam Hua glanced at Old Madam Wen and did not say anything. Back then, the Fernandes family had taken a liking to the Wen family and had taken advantage of them in the overseas market. They were indeed complementary to the Hua family's resources. However, Old Madam Hua was already so old. She only cared about whether her juniors would be happy in the future. Wouldn't it be child's play for the adults to interfere in the love of the juniors? Old Madam Hua said calmly, if Shidu likes her, she's the first priority. Old Madam Wen's face darkened. Soon. The video conference was connected. The person on the other end obviously did not expect that the other party would be a group of madams from wealthy families. Boss Nya, I'm Qing Lu. Xia Luqing smiled faintly. After seeing the person beside him, Nya Yu's expression softened. Miss Qing Lu. This is Old Madam Hua, and this is Old Madam Wen. After Xia Luqing introduced the few famous madams, she smiled and said, actually, I invited you for a video call this time because of an artificial intelligence project that you have. The corporations behind these madams all like your project very much. Madams, I'm afraid you don't like my project, but the person in charge of this project. Nya Yu laughed. This time, the person in charge of Higgins' project had invited Marcus from the Institute of Computational Technology in our nation, as well as the recently rumored heir of Higgins Corporation. It was said that he was from Country A. However, there was very little information about him. Boss Nya, you should know that if you want to find a powerful ally in Country A, everyone here is suitable. Xia Luqing knew that Nya Yu treated her specially, but she did not expect that Nya Yu would not give her preferential treatment in this matter. I can't make the decision on this project. Everything is arranged by Eldest Mississippi, Nya Yu said. Moreover, Eldest Miss hates businessmen who sell technology but don't know anything about scientific research. These words made the expressions of everyone present did not look too good. Who would study scientific research for the sake of a scientific research industry? How about this? I happen to have a set of professional materials here. If you ladies really want our project, you can let your teams try and see if they can bite this hard bone. Nya Yu smiled. Young Miss hopes to find companions, not a team that only knows how to throw money at you. After saying this, the faces of the madams on the scene turned green and red. After hanging up the video call, Xia Luqing looked at the information sent by Nya Yu. Her face was stiff and she did not know how to solve the problem. Half an hour later. Almost all of the research teams of these major corporations were at a loss when it came to Higgins' questions. I can't even understand this. What's the point of asking me? The madams looked at their own disappointing team and were about to go berserk. Xiao Qing, how should we solve this? Old Madam Wen gritted her teeth. She wanted to settle this before Huashidu and the rest found out about this. Xia Luqing suddenly saw Bei Yunj coming downstairs. She seemed to have thought of something and smiled again. A strange glint flashed across her eyes. Old Madam, leave it to me. P.S. If you have a lot of monthly votes today, why don't you add an update? Pinch face, end of chapter. Chapter 953. Xia Luqing was extremely confident. No one knew who she had called to arrange this matter. Wen Jiuan frowned. She had a feeling that Xia Luqing was targeting Bei Yunj. Then, she turned around and was about to say something to Wen Huai when she realized that he had disappeared. Bei Yunj had just poured a glass of water when she heard Mo, who was holding the railing with both hands, say to Bei Yunj in a childish voice. Sister. So, what books should I read to become better? Other than her poor grades in Chinese, Mo's other subjects could be said to be impeccable. After all, this was Huashidu's biological younger brother. Bei Yunj thought for a long time and reported a few books in the original language. Mo ran back to her room excitedly and looked for the electronic version. Wen Jiuan frowned subconsciously. The few mathematics books that Bei Yunj had just reported were all professional books. Mo was at the right age to read these books. Master Pei, don't you think those books are too difficult? Yu Manran whispered beside Bei Yunj. Yu Manran was originally a physics major in university. However, under the destruction of professional knowledge, she resolutely decided to transfer to the music major. Bei Yunj glanced at her. It's just a few basic books. Yu Manran, she felt that her IQ had been mocked. On the stage, Xia Luqing sneered disdainfully. How can a repeat student be so interested in mathematics books? I've met someone who likes to memorize the names of a few books so that she can use them to flatter herself. A few people mocked behind her. TSK, let her introduce them in detail. Don't embarrass her. Master Pei, have you really read these books? Yu Manran asked hesitantly. She had heard a little of what those people had said just now. Especially that Xia Luqing. It was obvious that she was a troublemaker. I haven't read them. Bei Yunj said slowly. How could she have so much time to read books that were not suitable for her? Yu Manran, how dare you recommend it to Momo? You can't even understand it, yet you want to show it to other children? Half an hour later. The question has been solved. Xia Luqing saw the message on her phone and could not help but smile. She immediately walked towards the old ladies. Old Madam Wen was overjoyed. Really? Who did it? Someone from the Qingchong Center. Xia Luqing smiled and said, they said that I can probably get around 70 points. Qingchong Computing Center? I heard that this computing. The old ladies were all excited. Then, old Madam Wen asked calmly, it should be difficult to invite people from such a pure research institution, right? I know their leader, so it won't be difficult. Xia Luqing smiled and said, moreover, the person who came up with the questions this time is also the director's disciple. That was why everyone was so interested in the declining Higgins Group's new project. That was the project that Mr. Marcus was in charge of. Miss Xia is really outstanding. She has such courage and connections at such a young age. Someone kept praising her. Then, old Madam Wen could not help but ask, can you invite him over? Of course. Xia Luqing smiled. I've already invited him here. Coincidentally, he should be very familiar with Miss Pei. End of chapter. Chapter 954. Are you very close to Gu? Old Madam Hua asked. Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows and glanced at Xia Luqing calmly. I don't know. She knew many people in the Qingchong Computing Center. Wasn't Hong Chongzhen, one of their directors, hospitalized because of her anger? Old Madam Hua didn't say anything. Until someone came in late. Miss Xia. Cheng Zihuai was dressed in decent clothes and looked handsome, attracting the attention of many people. Student Cheng. Xia Luqing's eyes lit up. She didn't expect Hong Chongzhen's student to look like this. This is, a member of the Qingchong Computing Center? Old Madam Wen asked. Cheng Zihuai turned around and said in a neither servile nor overbearing manner, I'm Cheng Zihuai from the Qingchong Computing Center. I'm also a freshman at Yun University. Only a freshman? Everyone was shocked. The person who could solve such a question was only a freshman. I'm not busy with my studies in the third year of high school, so I had the chance to get to know teacher Hong Chongzhen. Cheng Zihuai's tone was cold, but he was obviously confident in his ability. To be able to say that he wasn't busy with his studies in the third year of high school, he was definitely a top student. Then, Cheng Zihuai didn't expect to see Bei Yunj when he turned around. You're here too? Cheng Zihuai inexplicably felt a ball of anger in his chest. He hated the person in front of him and had an inexplicable emotion. He hadn't seen Bei Yunj for so long, and her appearance had clearly become more unfamiliar, but it was as if no matter what, she could still affect his heart. Bei Yunj only looked at him indifferently and raised her eyebrows slightly without saying anything. This made Xia Luqing frown. Why was there something wrong with the news? Didn't they say that Bei Yunj had actually liked Cheng Zihuai for a long time? But Bei Yunj didn't seem like someone she liked at all. Old Madam Hua is indeed kind. No wonder student Pei thinks that as long as she has someone to rely on, she can be impudent. Qing Zihuai pursed his lips and suddenly mocked her. Everyone present could tell that there was a grudge between Qing Zihuai and Bei Yunj. What are you saying, student Qing? Why do you have to say this in front of old Madame Hua? Xia Luqing seemed to be trying to stop the fight, but her eyes were gloating. Qing Zihuai sneered. You'll have to ask Miss Pei. She was really amazing to be able to force Qin Youjiao out of the country after returning to the Qin family for 2 years. Miss Pei is really someone who cannot tolerate sand in her eyes. After saying this, everyone on the scene sighed, as if they had heard some incredible gossip. So, that fake daughter was forced to leave? Thousands of thoughts ran through everyone's mind, and they also felt that this was very likely. After all, Qin Youjiao was an outstanding socialite in the industry back then, but this real young lady, at best, he was just lucky to have been reincarnated. With such a real daughter who couldn't compare to a fake daughter in any way, the Qin family was like a joke. Bei Yunj glanced at him unhurriedly and suddenly sneered. She called out slowly, "Heiress." A large Alaskan dog ran down quickly from upstairs and only went to Bei Yunj's side. Qing Zihuai subconsciously took a step back. Howl Heiress circled around Bei Yunj and barked excitedly. Bei Yunj smirked. Good child, be quiet. Heiress really stopped barking. He only tilted his head and kept rolling and rubbing against Bei Yunj's legs. At this moment, Bei Yunj said slowly, Student Qing, have you learned it? When someone says to be quiet, you should at least shut up. P.S. Including the extra chapters mentioned yesterday, there are 3 more chapters. Our monthly votes have been a little low recently. If there are more votes, continue to add more. Chapter 955. As soon as she finished speaking, the atmosphere in the room froze. Qing Zihuai's face darkened. Was Bei Yunj comparing him to a dog? Before Qing Zihuai could say anything, Xia Luqing noticed old Madame Hua's displeasure and immediately smiled. In our opinion, student Sheng is very talented. I wonder if student Sheng has ever thought of joining the group's research team? These words were meant to flatter Qing Zihuai, and she also hoped that old Madame Hua would not be too protective of Qing Zihuai. Qing Zihuai regained his composure, but his tone was cold and mocking. Of course. However, the Qinchong Computing Center is on good terms with the Wen family, so I don't think there's any other choice. Everyone knew in their hearts that he had chosen the Wen family. The teacher said that he would help me win Higgins's project this time. When Qing Zihuai said this, his gaze swept over Bei Yunj with a hint of mockery. However, Miss Pei is so resourceful. Perhaps you can also try these questions. Qing Zihuai had long heard that Bei Yunj had dropped out of school for no reason. And for more than half a year, he had been working hard in the computing center day after day. He was no longer on the same level as Bei Yunj. Bei Yunj just sneered and sat on the sofa to tease a lass. Then, Zihuai, quickly send these questions up. Xia Luqing glanced at Bei Yunj and could not help but smile as she said to Qing Zihuai. Qing Zihuai heard this and quickly sent the content up. Hong Chongjin was also involved in this. However, to his surprise, Nia Yu sent him a voice message. Xia Luqing could not wait to open it. Everyone heard it clearly. Her smile gradually stiffened. Miss Xia, I think you might have misunderstood. This is just a simple test foundation. Marcus's request is all correct. Only students in school need to look at the scores, and real research cannot tolerate any mistakes. In an instant, Qing Zihuai's calm face also disintegrated, and his expression instantly turned ugly. What? That test had to be all correct? Suddenly, Qing Zihuai heard a soft sneer. He quickly turned around and gritted his teeth. Bei Yunj? Student Qing, if you can't do it, isn't there still an old one? Bei Yunj was playing leisurely, but he was still arrogant. Old Madame Hua, could the old Yunj was talking about be Hong Chongjin? Everyone present suspected that Qing Zihuai would explode on the spot, but fortunately, he endured it. Bei Yunj, if you are really that capable, then you should help the Hua Corporation win this project. Qing Zihuai sneered. If he couldn't do it, then Bei Yunj was even more unworthy. Xia Luqing agreed, yes, Miss Pei and Zihuai were in the same high school and are about the same age. Since Miss Pei dared to quit school and felt that there was nothing to learn, there should be no problem with the foundation test, right? Actually, Qing Zihuai didn't finish the paper by himself. Hong Chongjin even helped him a little. After removing the water, Qing Zihuai's accuracy was only about 50%. Bei Yunj glanced at the unread messages and only smirked casually. It doesn't seem fair. These words made Xia Luqing think that Bei Yunj was afraid. For Miss Pei to be valued so highly by the Hua Corporation, she must be extremely talented. We are also looking forward to Miss Pei's performance. Xia Luqing was intriguing. Since she had already said this, if Bei Yunj didn't agree, he would be mocked by the crowd. End of this chapter. Chapter 956. Bei Yunj raised her eyebrows and scanned her surroundings. She glanced at Wen Jiuan, who was trying. Wen Jiuan, can you lend me your computer for a while? Wen Jiuan was stunned for a moment before she handed the computer to Bei Yunj. This computer belonged to Wen Huai. The others looked at Bei Yunj and did not know what she was up to. Was she really going to try this test? Xia Luqing's eyes were filled with ridicule. A student whose grades were so bad that she could repeat a year wanted to solve Higgins's test? She was simply dreaming. Miss Pei, do you think you're better than a professional from the computing center like Zihuai? Xia Luqing looked at Bei Yunj, who kept typing on the keyboard, and burst out laughing as if she was joking. The people around felt that Bei Yunj was deliberately flattering herself. Me? Of course I'm better. Bei Yunj curled her lips and said lazily, her eyes arrogant and presumptuous. Qing Zihuai subconsciously looked at her coldly, but he did not have time to mock her. Bei Yunj returned the computer to Wen Jiuan. Thank you. It had only been about 10 minutes. How could she solve it so quickly? Xia Luqing could not help but cover her mouth and snicker. Miss Pei can't solve it and has given up. The others were also discussing softly. Suddenly, Old Madam Wen laughed. Old Madam Hua indeed dotes on her grandson, so much so that she doesn't have any requests. Old Madam Hua was about to say something when Xia Luqing's phone suddenly vibrated. When Xia Luqing picked up the call, she heard Niayu's voice. Congratulations, you've passed the test. I wonder which company's team made this test. Instantly, Xia Luqing's face was as pale as a sheet of paper. What did you say? Niayu frowned. Mr. Marcus just saw it and felt that these questions were solved very cleverly. He wants to know which team it is. Everyone present heard it clearly. Qing Zihuai clenched his fists and his pupils constricted. He subconsciously looked at Bei Yunj. How was this possible? And Mr. Anya, is it possible that these questions were leaked? As soon as Xia Luqing asked this question, Old Madam Hua's gaze turned cold. She completely disliked this woman. How dare they target Bei Yunj and the Hua family? The other party seemed to be silent for a long time before saying in a low voice, these questions were set by Mr. Marcus. I can leak them, but no one can. I'm sorry, Mr. Nya. I didn't mean that. But... Xia Luqing's face turned red. She happened to look at Bei Yunj, who was smiling faintly. She gritted her teeth and said, it's the Hua Group's research team. Can I speak to her on the phone? You could not help but ask. Marcus had said that although these questions were the basics, but even he might not be able to think of the solution to this answer sheet. Xia Luqing took a deep breath, but her fingernails had already sunk into her flesh. She walked in front of Bei Yunj and smiled as if nothing had happened, but she was still gritting her teeth. If Miss Pei asked someone else to do it, even if she won this project, she would be exposed. With that said, Xia Luqing turned on the speakerphone. Hello, may I know who you are, Bei Yunj, she said lazily. When the other party heard the name, she seemed to fall into a long silence. Niayu's mood instantly reached a freezing point. She put on a fake smile and asked, why did you do this question? Was the research not enough for her to play with? She was still playing with them now? For the first time, President Nia wanted to beat his boss. P.S. Ahem, it's late but it's here. There's one more chapter. End of this chapter. You're tuning into the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.